A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us. This week, that would be Through Whispers. We're reading Empire of Silence, the chapter Through Whispers.
Yep, this week we're reading Empire of Silence, the book, all the way through Whispers and Demon and Wife.
The chapter Through Whispers. Yep. Hey there, this is
Josh.
And we are Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels. Love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club.
Yeah.
You'd think after like 320-ish episodes, I'd have it like fully memorized.
Nah. Why would you do that?
But every once in a while.
I think
yeah,
you might actually be getting worse at it because like as we're all moving forward through time in this podcast, you're actually moving backwards. So you've actually been doing it for less time now than me, technically.
Oh.
But eventually I'll have been doing it for more time. Well, never really, because like I've only been doing it for X amount of time, but as long as I do it more, you'll do it less. And then
the cumulative time that we spend, well, my cumulative time will be the same no matter what. It's just from what lens and point you're experiencing it from.
But it's like
Pandora's Cat is really complicated.
Yeah, and like I can't, like, I haven't done the episodes yet, but you already have, but they can't exist until I've done them.
If you cut me, or if your brother punches me, do I instantly heal because I'm moving backwards through time?
Yes, but not for you. You'll carry on those wounds, but to us, you'll become healed. Do you think Benjamin Button
I
was
haven't
just
experienced
quiet?
I mean, truly.
Or like a guy who got like bit by a radioactive quiet.
Bitten by a radioactive quiet. That's so good. In case you were so confused, today is our 10th episode of Demon and White by Chris Verrocchio. This week we're reading Empire of Silence Through Whispers. I think it's a good time for a vibe check, Josh, on this.
My head hurts. You know, I feel like I mostly follow. I'm like right there with Valka. I'm like, I get what you're saying. I do. No. And like, if I don't think too hard about it, it makes perfect sense. And then if I think too hard about it, it makes no sense. And then if I think a little hard about it, it makes some sense sometimes, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers of a lot of things.
Yeah, I definitely get the confusion. You know, part of it's a little intentional. Some of it is trying to clarify things that they didn't understand, and then having that back to back with a mostly real explanation of how things are going. You know, as we presume.
Yeah. No, it only hurts a little.
Right. Your nose is only bleeding right now. If you should get a little napkin and
just. It's been doing that
care of that
since I read this chapter section. Vibe check though is
crazy.
Realistically super cool. Dive into some actually informative lore about the world and what's going on. We learn some cool stuff about the multitudes of interdimensional extra real reality, that's my dog, beings that may or may not exist in time and space and also guide our realities and might be gods. And also it might be a war between heaven and hell. I don't know.
Light and darkness, heaven and hell, something and something else for sure.
Good and evil, and also snake people and egg babies.
Snake people, egg babies, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With hoses in it.
Hose babies, you're right. Egg hose babies.
Yeah, the hose babies. Yeah, very interesting. Lots to say about that. We're going to get there to talk about that first, though, and there's a little bit of interim stuff to get out of the way. So I think with that, we can start with Empire of Silence.
For sure.
Our first book. So the book opens and our main character starts on this planet called Delos.
Okay. Well, there's this whole monologue that we have to talk about where the light casts backwards from a murdered sun through time. So I guess it
Right.
does kind of fit though where we end up. It was a long read to get here. Something about being in a castle palace with
With his
his
dad, that
dad, and then
sucks.
his mom makes plays and also fucks. And then his brother gets punched, and then the guy gets on a boat with some wine, and then everyone dies, and there's a gray guy.
Saltus is there.
Saltus!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy. He's homeless. His girlfriend dies because he doesn't do anything about it, and then he fights in a coliseum, and then he almost marries a princess, but he's not happy about it. And then he meets a scientist, and then he deep throats an alien, and then he kills a cripple, and then he gets a ship, and
There was an alien in between.
yeah, he flies away. Oh yeah, for sure. He tortures a bunch of aliens. He gets a ship. He flies away. He kills a bunch of people off screen, and then he kills some robot people, and then he goes and he talks to a robot guy who talked to some water worms that told him the futures, and then he goes and he talks to his own water worm that tells him the futures, and then there's also an old guy who's really old, and then he tries to bang the old guy, but the old guy looks hot, and then but he doesn't, supposedly, allegedly, and then he gets his head cut off, but then he comes back with a different arm. This is after he kills a baby alien, though, a baby alien, and then yeah, we nuke some negotiations somewhere in there, and then everybody's like half mortal, half mortal. So then he's got to go and serve the emperor across the galaxy, killing more things off camera. And then we get to a point where he's just like, hey, maybe I gotta go hang out at the palace. And then he gets given a prince, and that sucks. And then he insults the prince, and that's not good. And then someone tries to kill him, and then he kills that guy. And then he ends up in a coliseum at some point, and he kills another guy who with a magic arm. And then, yeah, I think from there we go ahead and we go off and we learn about a library, and then, and now we're here.
Yeah. Now we're. That's the Empire of
Empire of
Silence.
Silence up to Empire of Silence, the chapter.
A summary so far. Perfect. No notes. Yeah, truly, like, I really love reusing the titles in a lot of ways
Yeah.
here, and he's pretty clever about that throughout. I mean, obviously, we can even see it in the pull quote that's a little bit later here, where Kingdom of Death, and we've had Kingdom of Death and Kingdoms of Death referenced, and obviously,
Yeah.
at this point, you can see it on the fucking
Well-
shelf, like,
Yeah.
so, like, very clear that we're sticking in some of those
Oh, for
self-referential
sure,
titles.
for sure.
So, we do open with a reflection on the nature of silence with a lack of wind or medium to carry sound, and a quote, stay in silence long enough and one can even start to feel the pump and scrape of blood in one's own veins. It is enough to drive men mad. From there, they descended on the ship down to the surface. As they approached the arches, reminiscent of other quiet rooms they found, inscribed with the same symbols, gears, and otherwise of before.
I love that this, like, moment of talking about the silence and the fact that there isn't silence because within your suit there is going to be the necessary aspects to carry sound, but it's only going to be the sound of what's in your suit. You're going to hear your own blood scraping through your veins, could drive you mad, is also just like a setup to a later statement that dives deeper into that. It's a really nice bit of, like, ground laying for, like, a really good line later on, but it's great on its own as well.
Yeah, he teed us up to just, like, literally, like, he put us on the tee and it was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
And
a good
there's, like,
point.
not
Yeah.
even-
And then later it's like, no.
anything that I've seen recently that I would love to reference right now in talking about this and the idea of silence and being driven mad in a situation like that, but it's fine.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost like I would love to talk about the Odyssey and make some comparisons, but somebody hasn't seen it because he couldn't get an IMAX ticket.
We're gonna fix that.
Yeah,
soon.
okay.
It's Josh. You don't have to be mad at me.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure
be
by the
mad
time
at
you
me.
do see it, there's going to be no more parts of any of these books that references Greek mythology.
Ever.
As any reference to the horrors of war or the consequences of our own decisions and the way how those play back against us through time. None of that's going to come up in the series anymore as soon as you watch it.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never. Not like the entire premise of the series
Yeah,
or
no,
anything. But
for
yeah,
sure.
no,
yeah,
sure.
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
there's not going to be a single moment that I can tie to the Odyssey from this point forward.
ever. Man.
It's, I
Yeah.
mean, the Odyssey's
No,
pretty
I'm excited to
niche,
see
so
it,
I don't
obviously.
think like it gets referenced in that much media. or it really inspired much of anything.
No, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, practically
basically
nothing
just its own
actually.
standalone kind of moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
They send Artie back to the ship.
the idea of the blood scraping and that silence and that driving you insane is very visceral, and I liked it, and then I like it even more with where it goes later.
Yeah. It's an excellent little quote, especially to kick off the week in a big way. They do send Artie back to the ship to call for assistance and see the reality of this building running backward through time, this sort of entropy in reverse. He pokes a fun jab at Krim as well as they continue in the ruins. Drones, of course, will be necessary to explore this, as this is so much more massive than the ruins at Caliga or, as Volka says, any of the other ones that she's ever visited.
Yeah, it's cool that Artie West made it all the way from First Lot of here, but uh it is exciting to get this moment where he kind of gets, I don't know, there's a fun little like back and forth with him and Valka, I think right about here, where they're just so excited to get in and start doing science, and I think it's cute.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy as far as like that goes, of course. But it's a series of nice character moments. Like A, Krim's a little creeped out,
Yeah.
and then B, like Valka's like, hell yeah, like let's go. And that's kind of a
I
fun
also
moment. Also, yeah,
I
go
need
ahead.
to know, because he mentions his mask is like everybody else's are like just smooth, or Valka's is just clear glass. His looks like a human face, and I need to know how realistic of a human face. Is this like a, like a soldier's mask where it's just kind of like a metal shape of a face, or is this just like a weirdly realistic live human head? Does it just look like Hadrian's face but weird?
You did buy Tales of the Sun Eater Volume 1, correct?
No,
It's just on Kindle.
just on Kindle. Okay, yes, then I do have that on Kindle.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send you the cover,
Okay,
but that is the
because
look.
my brain simultaneously pictured like the black angular mask from like Squid Game, and then it also pictured just like a bank robber rubber Bill Clinton mask. So I need to know how realistic of a human face we're talking about here. Okay, that's nice. That'll work. That's pretty good. It's a little realistic. It's a little more realistic than I'd care for, but it's pretty.
Yeah,
It makes
it's
sense.
meant to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay, that
Yeah.
that works. It could be just like a little bit more style, a little bit more angular, a little less detailed. Would have been fine.
I do think that it's a little bit more angular, but obviously artist depictions
Of
and
course,
things like
yeah.
that. Behind him, you can see what the clear masks or the ceramic plain masks look like as well, which I really
Yeah.
appreciate from the soldier view.
Yeah, see, those are
So you can
pretty
kind of get
cool.
an idea.
I like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hadrian's got a lot going on.
Yeah,
He
it's
didn't need to make detailed eyes, he didn't need pupils. He didn't need so much lip going.
no, the full lip
The
is
full
good.
lip.
The
Yeah,
full
it
lip
should
is
have only
good.
been lips. Just lips, and then the eyes are more lips.
Just a little pout.
Just 3 sets of lips where the mouth is and where each eye is. And then like a long vertical lips for the nose. And
Too many lips. Hadrian, all told here, pulls out this high matter blade and cuts into the ruins. This gets into sort of the complexity that you were referencing earlier. And it suddenly vanishes, and it is explained as this reverse entropy once again. He sees this as we do, that everything runs in a linear fashion forward, even as you approach the speed of light. But this suggests something different entirely.
yeah. Well, you see, Cross, what's going on is that because it's running backwards in time, he's cut it, but now it hasn't been cut. But the reason that it wasn't already cut, even though it would have been cut whenever they arrived here, because he's already cut it, is because he hasn't cut it yet.
Right. And the only time that it was cut was the moment that it
Well,
was
but
cut.
then it was cut in the past, but just not in the past whenever they were
Right.
there, because he hadn't cut it yet.
And the present wound wouldn't maintain its manifestation because it was only cut for that instant in which it was cut.
Yes, but except it's still cut,
Yes.
and it remains cut in the
Right.
past.
Yeah, right. But just for that brief, instantaneous
But-
moment in which it was cut.
Still continuous though. backwards. Still, if they were to go, if they were to
backwards,
if they were to come here tomorrow when they're
yesterday.
yesterday, they'd see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If tomorrow they came here yesterday, it would still be there.
Yes.
Exactly.
I believe that's what he
Precisely.
says. It's very similar to what
I think he just says, if we came here yesterday, it would be there.
Yeah.
But we weren't here yesterday, so it wasn't there yet. But yeah, if tomorrow they came here yesterday, the cut would still be there until they were no longer, until they waited long enough for it to become tomorrow from yesterday. So today, so once it became today from yesterday, then it would go away once Hadrian cut it yesterday. It's today.
Yeah. For sure. I'm not here to say that it isn't at the very least initially pretty confusing in its presentation.
It does generally
I think
come around to make general sense, but it is
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's timey-wimey.
Yeah, I think what's interesting in Rocchio has specifically said that like his goal, and they're like, I don't think that this is too big of a spoiler, but like there isn't time travel in this series, in the conventional way where you could go back in time and do something else.
You can't go to
there is
only
the character.
Tomorrow. You can just affect yesterday through today by moving backwards from tomorrow.
Yes, but like only in the circumstance with the quiet ruins that do move backwards, kind of.
Sure.
Like you could only you could only impact things that are. And I want to be very specific here to kind of like draw this delineation. You could only impact things the way that you're suggesting with things that are moving through time in such a manner.
Yeah.
I can't be more precise than that, but like that's sort of the
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you can see to the side of time and then make decisions that affect the time as it moves separately.
We're going to get into that. We got to get there. We're going to make cocktails and then we're going to talk about that shit. So.
Maybe because I only read this sober is why it's so hard for me to comprehend.
I mean, that is truthfully like there's a shit ton of stuff that gets covered there. Like you could read that chapter so many times, and it is, I believe, now the longest chapter in the series that we've read.
Like
I'm pretty certain
it was like 50 minutes long
by like actual page count. Yeah, it's like almost an hour of audiobook, and then in addition, it's by page count, I think it is as long as the Brethren stuff. But the biggest difference is that the Brethren stuff, in the way it's written on the page, takes up
less words per page.
Exactly, way denser.
But Brethren shows up with his weird writing a little bit.
It's true. We get a brief intersection. There in a minute here, but importantly, though, I think that Hadrian also explains that this is sort of anti-predestination by walking us through this reality. I guess I kind of presume that we understand the difference between like determinism and predestination in general.
Completely lost. No, 100%. I grew up Calvinist. So.
I figured. Yeah, right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, definitely. Like kings of
predestination. Yeah. And then I went Baptist, and then I went non-denominational, and then I went. Yeah. So.
For those who don't know, predestination would be the idea that like at the end of time, everything would have to be in one particular way in order for us to ever arrive that way. And so as such, everything flowing backward from that point exists linearly and we have no choice or optionality in anything. And Hadrian very clearly paints this as like, that's not really what this is. And to use the quote here, imagine a map, beginning of the time at one end at the other, where the line between them is what happens. But to either side, there are other lines, things that don't happen, things that might happen. As the universe runs forward, our choices weave those threads to get threads in, braid it. Most of the threads didn't happen because they can't, or they can't happen because they didn't happen. I don't know. There aren't just other futures. There are other presents, other pasts, I think. And because these runes are moving backward, we can see that. Importantly, we get into this, and we get I would argue a much better explanation of that just physically through what Hadrian does. But this is a pretty decent explanation.
Yeah, I mean, to make it so much less sciencey and Sun Eatery. It's Loki at the TVA. You know, we got the branching timelines and well, I forget the name of it, but the main timeline, the one that the TVA wants. The TVA is basically the quiet, and here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, in effect, I mean, conventionally, for that's we're gonna call that really, really adjacent.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think it's a good analogy.
Branching timelines that
starters.
intersect and branch away from each other in ways where there's realities that exist parallel. There's realities that can't come to be because where they stem from didn't happen or can't happen, and there's realities in the past that are different that all converge and reconverge, and yeah. The
Yeah,
wheel of time
it's all
turns, Crossland,
potential.
and ages come and pass.
Yes, they do. They do
Yeah.
indeed. I mean, Wheel of Time and Sun Eater definitely happen in the same universe.
The
so
pattern weaves as the pattern wills, you know, or the wheel weaves
Yeah.
as the wheel wills,
Right.
but that's harder to say. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
you should never put wheel
I do
wills
love
next
this.
to each other.
The wheel wills and
Wheel wheels. The wheel wheels at the wheel wheels.
Wow.
Hello, princess.
There's a really good strong quote here. I kind of referenced it a little bit earlier, but and I think we got pieces of this in previous books. I don't know if we got the whole thing or enough to make a reference to it, and so I don't think that I inserted the full quote. I believe before this, I went searching through a lot of notes to make sure that I wasn't wrong here, but I think that this is true. That this is the first time that we see this quote. That's a lot of preamble. Silence, the great empire of silence, higher than all stars, deeper than the kingdom of death. It alone is great. All else is small. By Thomas Carlyle, Scottish historian, philosopher. And that is a pull from his semi-autobiographical novel Sartor Restartus, which is also a bit of a parody.
I only missed just the very end there whenever I'm sweaty, so my arm's sticky, and then my cable stuck to my arm. Got pulled out of my headphones.
Semi-autobiographical.
Yeah.
A little book.
Sartor Resartus.
Yes.
And then he said something right after that.
Bit of
that's what I missed. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The very end of that was just it's a little bit of a parody.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what era is Thomas Carlyle writing from?
I believe the 1880s.
So, oh yeah, the Quiet Ruins are basically gone by that point. No, they're super new. Yeah. Yeah, the Quiet Ruins are basically fully functional machine houses at that point.
Right. This actually was written in the 1830s. He
1830s.
did die in the 1880s,
Okay.
but nonetheless.
Cool. Yeah.
Still, the Quiet Ruins were like little tiny, like cones poking out of
yes.
desert.
Hadn't risen from the sands yet.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it's a super cool quote, and you can clearly see how much of this book is being pulled from that with Empire of Silence and Kingdom of Death. Outside of context, I'm like, what's he talking about? You know?
Yeah. Do you mean what is Carlyle talking about, or what
Carlyle.
is? Yeah. So what's interesting is, as I mentioned, Sartor Resartus is a little bit of a parody, and a little bit commentary. The whole thing is sort of framed as a like editor's comments on a historian's evaluation of like a philosophical work. So there's like 3 layers deep on context. And I think that, so this is meant to be, I believe the intent here, and again, I haven't read this yet. I actually was talking to a buddy and I was like, this is a couple hundred pages. This is the kind of thing you're into. You want a buddy read it for fun? So we're going to maybe do that in the next year at some point. But my understanding of the context is that this guy believes more full of himself, is much more full of himself, and so presents this as this big sort of esoteric thought quote, to such a degree that it should be perceived as false based on the writer and how much we don't like him and the pretentiousness of his ideas. But in fact, there's like a pretty decent nugget of truth in there, about this sort of like higher than all stars, deeper than the kingdom of death, that alone is great, all else is small. Like this idea of, sort of quiet. Oh man, fuck. I actually spent so much time on Carlisle today because I thought that this was fascinating. Uh, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's interesting. The author's name, I found really funny. I figured you would too. Is Diogenes Teufels Drock, which translates to Zeus-born devil's dung. And that's the name of the fake historian or philosopher.
Incredible. Yeah. Oh man, some classic
Yeah,
Zeusborn's Devil's Dung.
yeah, exactly. So it's like,
Well,
it's kind of making
but
fun of
also
his
Devil's
like
Dung
life
is a
and
pretty
opinions and
important
work.
item for crafting in the new Zeusborn game, right? The new FromSoft Greek mythology game. Yeah,
Yes,
Zeusborn.
yeah, absolutely. You can only get it by milking the
Oh,
snails.
of course, yeah. Which you have to spawn after killing like just siren after siren, and it's super annoying because they're fast and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's so fast you can't see them, and it's like, wow, they really anticipated me to just be rolling all the time,
yeah,
huh?
exactly.
And I do roll all the
Yeah.
time, but I don't roll at the right times, and I can't
No.
even tell when I shouldn't be
Well, you have to
rolling.
take the wax out of your ear to hear the move set, but then you're also going to have a
Uh,
situation where you're going to be like losing stamina the entire time. So
this is a good joke for like the 8 people.
that play from soft
Exactly
games,
what we're
yeah,
talking about. Well, in like two different categories, both like Odyssey
yeah,
jokes, and then also
exactly.
like
If you
and then from some games.
if you take the time to exhaust the dialogue of the witch and the pig cut, eventually she'll let you know that you should strap yourself to the sail, which you can do if you interact with it whenever you get to the siren section. As long as the rest of your crew, as long as you've gone around and you've found enough of the candle wax amongst the wreckage of the ships, then you can strap yourself to the sail and you'll be able to hear the siren song, but they won't be able to hit you. It's a whole thing. And if you do
Yeah,
all of that,
Turkey's Island is really easy
you
to
do
miss
actually
too.
get to unlock the Calypso storyline, which it gives you like a separate ending where you actually get to apologize to Athena. So it's
Kind of important on that train. Um, yeah, all told, it's a good quote. It's pretty straightforward. It's not straightforward, and that's the intent.
yeah,
Here, frankly, uh, okay. So Empire of Silence alone, it is great. All else is small. Kingdom of Death. Our time on the world, and our time with our thoughts are the most important. And in the end, silence is there. Kingdom of Death. Blah blah blah.
yeah,
Okay, that's it.
cool.
Hadrian gives Volca the right to name the planet and names it Annika after one of her favorite metal bands, meaning impermanence. After being left alone in the strange place, however, Hadrian feels wind and knows that it is happening again.
Rockio, you can't just say Anakin over and over and think you can get away with it because you spelled it with a C. You can't do that. The second she said Annika, I was like, that's close. Is he gonna do it? And then from everything is in Anakin this and Anakin that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. I said
Anakin,
you can't do it, but he
yeah.
can, and he did, and I'm happy he did.
Mhm.
Here we are.
Yeah. In Anakin Wind, in Anakin Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing.
I love an Anakin summer. It's like mostly on Naboo. You complain about sand. You like
Didn't
maybe
Alexander do that?
what?
Alexander complained about
Oh
sand
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Like,
He just doesn't like the Anakin sand, I think.
yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, it's classic. You're like a young wizard soldier and then you seduce an older politician, and I think Hadrian kind of might be Anakin. Um,
Maybe he has a mirror. Yeah, like, interesting.
as
Weird
in
thought.
from
Weird thought.
Annika. Maybe he's always been from here, Maybe he's
Oh, that's
Anakin.
why he's never felt at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That specifically also called out and reminded me. He says, I believe in Howling Dark, that he's mimicked his mask off of the funerary death masks of his family
Right.
from Delos.
So it's probably
So
just Darth Vader's
that's
mask.
that's why you get kind of the yeah. Yep. The summons. Oberlin, having taken his spot as director, stares down and out at the captains frozen on the holo screen. The summons have come. As casualty reports, star charts, and video footage show the fall of Marinus as the Imperial foothold in the Northern Expanse is completely destroyed. And they're calling on a request to mass the fleet at Berenike, which will take the better part of a century.
I hardly know Nike. Um
And you've seen a Berenike?
Hey, put your clothes back on. You don't need to be that bear.
What's happening?
Yeah, I had to like jump back on this part. I was like in the gym listening to it whenever it happened, and I was like, "Wait, hold on." We're like doing science, and all of a sudden they're like, "The veil has fallen. Humanity is doomed." And it's like, what? Did I skip something on it? Did I sit on my phone? What happened? But yeah, it's it's not looking good. Sucks to be one of the Normans, any of the Normans on his ship right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it really sucks. And obviously, that's a big kind of emotional through line that we have for the rest of this chapter. I am not sure if you had heard of it, but like obviously, like Nike almost immediately calls out, right? Like just sort of gods and things like that. And so Baron Nike, his name is very interesting here. And its sort of nomenclature suggests, from a translation perspective, bringer of victory, which becomes extra interesting with sort of the context that
Where
get
we
later.
go in the story, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Bringer.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I need you to watch the Odyssey because I have questions about certain naming things.
You just like so.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this episode really should be about the Odyssey more than anything.
We should have just done.
We should have just. We should, whenever you watch it, probably just do a whole Odyssey episode.
Probably.
I don't know. You're familiar enough with the
bonus
story in general, maybe, that I could still ask this.
Oh,
you know?
The biggest deal, like I am very familiar with the story of the Odyssey. The big deals are like the visuals, the specific
Of
storytelling
course.
that he's gonna pull.
So,
But I know.
a witch named Cersei turns men into pigs.
Yeah. Right.
Do you think that's like why George R. R. Martin named Cersei because she kind of like took like the dumb but strong and capable Robert and dwindled his soul down until he became a pig himself and then killed him with a boar?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I had that epiphany watching that.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers for Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, by the way.
It's the first book, yeah, and the first season of the
if
TV show,
if you just somehow if there's just some way that you've made it this far, but it's like high on your to read list, you're like, damn, I was gonna get to it. Yeah.
I think the other interesting thing about that comparison in particular is that Cersei is a schemer in Game of Thrones, obviously, and Cersei herself isn't. The character itself, I would also argue, isn't an intelligent schemer in the book, so far as I've read. She like is very singularly driven.
Yes,
I should
very
say.
much so.
She's got single motivations. She's very like for family, for like keeping that alive and keeping the power as a part of that. Which is very interesting when contrasted with Cersei versus other witches of sort of Greco-Roman nomenclature and popularity, where Cersei very similarly is pretty base desires.
Yeah.
Compared to
Definitely. Yeah.
Other witches. Yeah.
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 So, anyways, Sun Eater. That's my bad. I just that thought popped into my head, and I needed to be like, "Hey, I made a connection here." That I wouldn't have.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
This information, however, was delivered via telegraph and it arrived much earlier than intended, as they had changed position, and in addition are unable to tell anything about the location from said telegraph. And so Hadrian suggests that they can take some time here. This draws the ire of Alexander and some frustration from the Norman contingent among his captains as he announces that this is the place, the planet that they've been looking for.
Yeah. There's a line in there that kind of builds off of what we've talked about earlier in this book as well, like especially in this book compared to any of the other ones. And that's like my family's probably long dead, but that's still my home. Like that idea that you can scribe and you go off and you get frozen so much that probably everyone you know and love back home is long gone by now. So it reframes the like, I got to get back there and help, because it's like you probably don't even know anyone there at this point. Like you're not, I have to go back and save my family. It's like I have to go back because I'm from there. So it does kind of reframe like the loyalty aspects to where it's like, you understand this loyalty and you understand the desire to go back, but also it makes Hadrian being like, no, a little less monstrous, because it's like anybody who is from there probably doesn't even have anyone there anymore anyways, and it's more based out of like patriotism than it is actual like protective instincts for loved ones. So
Yeah. I think it's more of a. I like the framing of patriotism for sure because it is like a that's my home, not if those are my people. Although there's some element of those are my people just because it's the whole culture is under attack too
Yeah.
simultaneously. So like the Norman culture could be wiped out as a
Yeah,
result
I
of
mean,
the
I'd get it if
Americans
I was
falling.
gone on something
Yeah.
and I found out that like white culture was being attacked. I'd be like, but the mayonnaise, they're gonna
Mayonnaise
take
and the
away my
ranch dressing.
they're gonna take away my sriracha mayo that I get from Vaughn's. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd
Yeah,
be fine. I just
I
gotta let it do
definitely
its thing. I'd keep studying the backwards
yeah,
aliens.
right. The backwards aliens are kind of crazy, honestly. Like, and Hadrian's not that far off. But I do want to give a little, like, paint a little bit of a sympathy, especially because I do think that this builds into Bastian Durand's character here throughout this section in particular, where it's like this is almost like a Bastander Lin 2, like he calls out much
Very
later,
much so, yeah.
where it's like this guy is getting annoyed, he's pissed, he like basically is, kind of fighting throughout this, and addresses Octavia directly to reflect on his likely dead family, to your point. But also, like, descendants are probably like
Right,
his
yeah.
hometown can't even be
Very
there,
true,
right?
yeah.
Like, what are you actually fighting for outside of generic, I don't
Yeah,
know.
and it certainly begs that question too, to where it's like, if you're not fighting to directly defend your family, and it's more this kind of abstract of like your home, your descendants, your culture, then one, it's like it makes not being able to go back and save that maybe not as direct and personal and as like viscerally you have to, but it also makes like, why are you staying out here for taking orders following this fight whenever it's not like as a direct protecting these things. So it like kind of balances it both ways. I don't know. It's a really interesting way to like look at the ideals behind what would drive someone towards like military service, and then compare it to what now all of these people give up for that, and it almost has more of the feeling of something like the Odyssey, Crossland, but where they don't know if they're ever going to come home, and they're gone for these long times, and they don't know what they're coming back to.
30
Yeah,
years, yeah, plus.
yeah.
Yeah, wars were long endeavors. Yeah, I definitely get it, and I definitely understand that too, and totally agree. It does beg that question. I think interestingly, comparing like cultures a little bit here too, the Normans. I mean, they referred to themselves as the Norman freeholds. We know that they're like the only society that won themselves out of the like. Well, they're one of a couple of societies that kind of won their way free of the
Hmm.
empire to some degree, and have like good relationships there. So one assumes as a part of that they want to protect sort of like that
Of
cultural
course, yeah.
legacy, and like it's not your grandkids necessarily in a lot of their cases, obviously, especially for someone like Durand, but like the nephews and the nieces and like everyone else that you left behind is sort of, and by nephews and nieces I mean at this point
Yes,
great
yeah.
nieces of a variety or nephews or what have you. Um, so you're almost like protecting your clan name,
Yeah,
which almost
very
feels
much so.
Tavrosian in a
Yeah.
weird way too. I don't know.
It's
You can begin to also understand the Tavrosi, like not having familial ties when
100%.
time is so
Yeah.
impermanent.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the changing of the ideals of like time, death, and mortality definitely puts all of these cultures almost in the same spot, just in longer directions. Like if you
Yeah.
trace kind
Yeah.
of the intentionality of each thing, it all kind of just comes back to the warp drive.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And how that
yeah.
works. Totally.
The warp age.
Corvo breaks. Yeah. The entire warp age and this idea of like uh, the differing ideals of service. I mean, again, the Normans sort of like mostly seem like volunteer, especially these guys are mercenary pirates.
Yeah,
Kind of. And then you draw that comparison to like the Empire, which is conscription, for blood and empire, basically,
yeah.
by and large. And then like Tavrosi, we don't really know. Jad, we know are these warrior
Warrior
poets.
poets who are all
But
super hot. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, of whom also fight predominantly. We do know about the Mamluk clones, and
right.
they deploy a lot of clones to fight.
Which is its own moral quandary, where it's like, okay, like we're not
Yeah.
sending our children to die, we're creating soldiers and sending them off, but then what does it mean to be a clone destined just to fight a war? So
Hmm.
hope we get
Right.
into that at some
Yeah.
point.
Exactly.
All right.
But yeah, just to draw those cultural comparisons for sure. Corvo breaks and gives him a timeline that he has 5 years. Even though Hadrian this time has been like, we could do all this in 10, no big deal. He's like, 5 is great, sounds good. And I love the sentiment that kind of surrounds it as Hadrian kind of takes this in, and to just take the final line of it. It was the offer of an equal, a friend. Before the call ends and Hadrian and Alexander get into further argument, leading to Valka showing Alexander the footage from Valka's perspective of Hadrian's death. He is in shock and does not believe it to be real as he storms out, saying that Hadrian still believes him a fool.
Next time someone tells me some shit I don't want to know, I'm just going to accuse them of witchcraft and storm out. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to show up to work and then I'm going to be like, hey, sorry, Chrissy called out, so you're just going to have to pull double duty today. And I'll be like, that's witchcraft. And I will leave.
I definitely get it from
Oh
I
yeah,
think
totally
Alexander's perspective.
totally get where he's coming from. That'd be wild to see.
but,
And then you're just trusting it from a Tavrosi witch. But
and from this asshole,
Yeah.
like this guy of whom has already like been a jerk to you, and you're still like, but he was my childhood hero, and so I'm kind of sticking it out.
it's
with
like your
him.
childhood.
Um,
It's like if my childhood hero was Wolverine, and then I ended up taking acting classes from Hugh Jackman, and then Hugh Jackman was like, "By the way, I am Wolverine," and I'm like, "No, you're not. That's stupid." And he's like, "Nah, show him the tape." And someone just showed me like a phone cam video of him going snicked, and like actual claws came out, and then someone shoots him and he regenerates. I'd be like, "That's AI."
yeah, exactly. Which is exactly what it's a perfect comparison. It's literally exactly what's happening here. And he's like, Jesus fuck. Like, who do you think I am? You already made fun of me once. You're doing it again right now? For real? Yeah. I re-believed in you, and I definitely get Alexander from that perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Of feeling made the fool of twice at this point.
Hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you fooled me in the future, but it went backwards, so I'm not fooled anymore.
And in addition, you weren't lying, and so I wasn't actually fooled. I fooled myself.
I fooled
You played me.
myself in the past, but I can't.
In
But
the
that means
past.
I've already healed from fooling myself in the past, because now I'm further back than the forward where I fooled myself back then. My dog is
Yes.
freaking out right now. He does not like this shit. Chetney, it's okay. It's science fiction, bud. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. No, it's fine. It's
No, buddy.
It doesn't have to be provable science, Chetney. It's a novel. It's for entertainment value. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's actually it's holding better to its own logic than most fiction that we've talked about, Chetney. It's oh my god. It is okay. He's barking at nothing. He's just walking in circles around the apartment, barking super loud. He does not like this.
Chet, I think he's moving
I
backwards.
think, yeah, whatever he heard is in the past, or his future, but my past, I don't know, man.
It's definitely a dog whistle, whatever.
Yes.
A dog whistle traveling back through time, forward, backward.
I think that's how the Trump administration is doing it through Fox News, but
Oh man, yeah.
with their dog whistles back through time. Anyways,
Hadrian ends the chapter reflecting on the death toll that Oberlin reports for playing it over and over again, and how the Cielsen are gone, meaning waiting likely somewhere off stage for their moment to strike. And Hadrian questions the decision, but sticks to it as he flips the machine recording off.
yeah.
Yeah. Not too crazy. Oberlin's promoted, though. I guess we didn't kind of mention that. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And he likes Hadrian.
He does.
He's the guy
Wait, what? So what?
passed
What
him the
did? What do they call him here?
Director.
Director.
He took the place of.
Okay.
Yeah, he took the place of what's his name? Not the guy that Hadrian killed, Bourbon, but the other
Right.
guy.
And that guy got like
Schnaufelsberger.
arrested and then probably shuffled off to some like luxury prison planet. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Hadrian's just getting more and more allies in higher and higher places. I have to.
this one
I have
was
to deal
easy.
with my dog, or
Yeah,
this is going to
yeah,
be
yeah.
crazy in the.
We will return to Annika. Volca and Hadrian continue cataloging the chambers at Annika, and the general demeanor of the Normans having soured a bit towards Hadrian is very understandable as far as, what we see here. More importantly is this general reflection on home, its loss, and how even after displacing entirely from that reality, we all kind of miss it in the end. It's just extra funny because I immediately went, Josh wants to talk about the Odyssey without even finishing my prescribed
I don't
line.
even
I was like,
see
nah,
how this
relevant
would tie
themes.
into that at all.
I do want to throw something out there because I do know, obviously, it ties in. Um, the movie The Return,
I have not seen it, but
highly
I love Ralph
recommended.
Fiennes, and
Yeah,
I've always I've
yeah,
talked to you about how Greek mythology and Arthurian legend are things I didn't dive too much into, which is weird for somebody who's very into fantasy.
hmm
The Odyssey itself, I've always really liked generally more than other things of that type of thing, just because I grew up on that metal
yeah,
song that I really enjoyed. That was the entire Odyssey. So
right.
at a young age, I was like, I gotta know what the story is. But um, I don't need to go on too long of a thing of the Odyssey. But whenever I saw The Return as was a movie that existed and was out, it's been high on my list for a while because I just feel like Ralph Fiennes in a somber take on the return of Odysseus would be really fucking cool. But yeah.
And Buddy is
Okay, cool. Highly
that's
recommend.
sort of the that's sort of the oh yeah, highly
Okay.
recommend. Very fun, and I think especially post the Odyssey for a lot of people because again have not seen it, so cannot say, do not know with any certainty. But even trying to fit that story within a 3 hour ish window is a lot to ask and a lot to beg of some of the grandiosity of one of the oldest
Yeah.
stories known to man.
I think it's
Um,
Nolan knows how to
so
do too much story in a little time, I think, in a way
yeah,
that a
for
lot of
sure, he's very
other
good at it.
directors would have struggled really hard with. Obviously, there's still stuff on the cutting room floor. Um, we have to move through certain aspects really quick, but I think he does a great job of not falling into a trap that I think a lot of other directors would do. And we'll talk more about it once you see it. And that's just he allows it to be mythological and strange and doesn't stop to explain shit so they can fit as much of it in there as possible. And I really enjoyed that about it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Definitely makes sense. To that point, though, part of the reason that I love The Return so much is that it is just a fixation on the end of the
Mm-hmm.
story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it tells that really effectively, which is good.
But out of Ralph Fiennes, Matt Damon, or Sean Bean, who's the best Odysseus? You don't know yet. We got to go watch it,
Very, very true. I do enjoy Sean Bean's Odysseus, as
Well, it's
previously
not a great
mentioned.
movie,
So
but
there are excellent moments, but
Mhm.
it is not a great movie. No, as we previously reflected on the
Yes.
cast. But yeah, I mean, again, sort of this idea of missing home, especially from Volca as she talks about it. Hadrian's I don't, and they specifically talk about Delos and Tavros variously, in the way that neither of them, they both kind of miss it, sort
hmm
of, more the idea of it than what it actually
Well,
is.
it seems like Valka doesn't miss it verbally. It's no, of course not. But
No.
then kind of does. And then Hadrian's like, I miss
Mhm.
it. And then Valka's like, don't you fucking hate it? And he's like, well, yeah. So
They're
yeah.
inverses in that way.
hmm
Yeah. 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 Kind of a good little reflection there.
How I feel about Fresno.
Valka, yeah, I mean, I feel the same about most of my hometown, variously, where it's yeah, there are elements, that I like. I definitely miss my, hometown burrito place and,
Yeah.
a couple of things like that.
I think
The old haunt bar.
if everybody I knew moved out of Fresno, and then I did find out that aliens were going to invade Fresno and wipe it off the map, I'd still be like, we have to help Fresno. But if someone was like,
Yeah,
hey, you want to move
right.
back to Fresno? I'd strangle them with my bare hands and throw them off of my balcony. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a perfect
Okay,
representation
cool.
of the way that I feel. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Um, perfect. No notes.
Cool.
Valka pitches. Are you playing Prophet again? Before Hadrian explains that he sees dreams again of a black dome and most of his crew, an army of Cielsen under banners of White's Hand and Doriaika himself, but not of Valka not being there. They dive further into those dreams with extra questions, and while there isn't a clear explanation to anything, there are snatches of questions about how real they could be, as Sirianni and Hadrian feel like pairs on a chessboard on opposite sides.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing in this spot where whenever she's like, "Are you playing prophet again?" He's like, "I'm not a prophet. I don't see the future. I have dreams and visions that may hold truths." I'm like, what the fuck do you think prophets were doing in any sort of religious context or mythological history? Do they? Every single prophet ever is just getting weird visions and histories and trying to parse them out, and they're so cryptic and nothing. I'm like, that's exactly what a prophet is, you bitch.
Yeah, right. Like the Oracle at Delphi was just like having visions and wasn't a prophet because they were having visions. No, that's why they're the fucking Oracle at Delphi. That's why the name is the name.
Right.
You idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't remember if it's this section or the section before it, but in a conversation with Hadrian and Valka, and I wish I could remember the exact spot and like exactly what they're talking about. Something pinged me that was super weird because it's happened a few times throughout throughout this book, where Hadrian recalls something, and then Valka, whose memory is perfect, will correct him with like, "No, that wasn't Karn Sagara that said that. That was Tamaran."
Yeah. Tanaran in this
And
case. She actually pulled the correction that I mentioned in Helen
Okay.
at the beginning of this.
Okay, yeah. And like part of me wonders with those little corrections, like it feels interesting for Hadrian to recount remembering wrong in a way like this. It feels like it's going to be important in some way, these little misremembrances. But I don't know, like, is that because like the Hadrian that now stands before us that's pulled from an alternate reality did hear that from Karn? But in this reality it was said by Tamaran or something like I don't know, it almost feels significant in some way. Rather than just a throwaway line about Hadrian misremembering. But
yeah, it builds this idea, and especially when we get into Commendation of the Highest Place, basically the back half of this episode, which is going to be more than half, just based on the length of episode at present. But
we're moving
not the
fast through
final
this
chapter,
part on
but the two
purpose
chapters.
because
Yeah, because we know that I just know that that's going to be a lengthy conversation no matter what we do. But like where was I going with this? There's this question of whether or not the ship of Theseus sort of thing exists now with Hadrian, being that there is like pulling from different Hadrians, and it's just maybe his spirit occupying who he is, as opposed to or will
Theseus
or
himself, maybe,
in some way. Yeah, right, exactly. But in this case, Theseus is changing.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that when we
whereas
talk about
Theseus,
that next. But
the
like,
soul and the ship is the body. I don't know, man.
tough to say. I mean, and there's like a lot of interesting sort of pieces to dissect, I think, there about this over time. And there is this question of, is it because Hadrian remembers a different past because of where a line ended at some point when he was grabbed by this Hadrian and like pulled in from that distinct reality that then no longer exists as a part of that, because there's only one reality ever.
Which would have had to have been
that actually manifests itself.
Which also would have had to have been a relatively similar reality to pull from to be Hadrian where he needed to be in that moment, but one that survives. So could just be like these small, tiny differences. Like somebody else mentioned something in the past,
Yeah. I think it's interesting. This gets into the next section a little bit, but we get this sort of idea of like infinitesimal differences between the realities. And since we're already kind of touching on this, I think it's maybe relevant to bring up. But these infinitesimal differences make it so that there is this easy possibility to reach out and grab one and pull it through, as long as there are enough differences to have made it possible. Like, there have to be enough instances where this is the clear and obvious path, but there could come a time when maybe this is the only Hadrian that made it to this moment.
Exactly.
Or like from this moment, how many other Hadrians could there be?
Which makes him half mortal, because he certainly still could die. We'll talk about all that in a little.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. But this sort of brings that to the fore, especially from the philosophical standpoint of like, is this Hadrian that's writing this account getting it wrong, or is this the Hadrian at the end of time saying maybe I'm getting it wrong and I'm using Volca as a vehicle, or is this the Hadrian, to your point, that was brought back in this moment remembering incorrectly?
Regardless, they're
because it was
all
different.
having visions of Valka not being there.
Yeah.
Which that also concerns me. That was the other thing that I wanted to. Never there. Never Valka. Why? Because Valka seems pretty there. So either Valka leaves or dies, or something about Valka's existence is like the only thing that I can think of that is outside of Valka dying or leaving entirely from the story is if there is some level of existence, like plane of existence she exists on due to her implants that puts her more like the Maricani demons in the way that she exists outside of the sight and understanding and vision of the quiet. But I think it's more likely it's just like a ominous omen that she doesn't make it that far. But
yeah, it begs interesting questions because we also get like one of these being the end and one not.
Yeah.
So as we get into the next
and
section,
she keeps asking like,
this
"Was I
vision that
there?"
we've been
Which
seeing-
also like implies maybe she
Yeah.
has some sort of theory or thought about her own existence and being. I don't know. There's a lot there that's like calling attention that has me concerned.
concern for Velka for sure. That makes sense. Their years on Annika begin to go fast. Velka comes to a realization about how these are traveling backwards in time and how the runes are all at all these sites are probably changed as well as they would have grown. He bangs his little tripod cross into one of the walls. He refers to it as carrying it like a crucifix. And Volka again vanishes as Hadrian sees walls converge into infinity and can't find Volka as we stumble into the same thing that we were in the Empire of Silence, seemingly.
Yeah. Adrian, you should have seen this coming. My guy. It was windy in space. That should have given something away.
It's not supposed to be windy
It
in space.
can't be windy in space, Adrian.
This should be obvious to you at this point.
Yeah. And it is. And he called it
Yeah.
out. But here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Josh. I love your little lineup.
Yeah.
People can see yours, so I feel like I always like starting with you. Because you
Fair
got a little
enough.
visual.
Yeah. I guess I'll start on one side and work my way up.
Please do. Yeah, I'm curious as to the bowl.
Starting with the bowl, it has nothing to do with my cocktail. I'm just feeling very snackish, and I have leftover Nerds gummy clusters from seeing the Odyssey last night.
Ah, fuck. They're so good.
They're so good. Almost as good as the Odyssey.
Crack. Yeah. Probably better, frankly.
Next up, we have my cocktail that I kind of made on the fly. Nothing crazy, but it's pretty good. We've got 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. We've got 2 ounces of iced black tea. We've got 1/2 ounce of orgeat or orzat. I don't know how the fuck you say it. Or
however
that
you
one.
like. Yeah.
We've got some shakes of orange bitters. We've got a splash of lemon juice, and then we've got just a little tiny bit on the top. Topped it with lemon and elderflower soda water, and then just a lemon wedge on the edge. It tastes like an Arnold Palmer, but like slightly boozier. Very low
Nice.
alcohol
That sounds
content
delightful.
comparatively to like a normal cocktail, but that was on purpose, kind of. And then I've got a beer here that I picked up right before the thing, and rather than try and read the handwriting of the guy, I can just pull up the picture I took of the stuff.
We both got crowlers.
Yeah, I
Nice.
got a crowler of Ballast Point. They have a tap room walking distance from me. It was one of their limited releases for Rogan Wolf Rye IPA. A faint spice of rye forms the backbone for a bountiful bloom of pineapple and peach from Mosaic, Incognito, Nelson, and Nectaron hops. And it's real good. It's very, very smooth, very nice, very full-bodied. Yeah.
Nice. Fun. I wanted to mention, so right before this was a friend's birthday, which is part of the reason that I was running a little late, because then I had to come home and cook for myself. We went to a local cocktail spot that's really great. They're a distillery as well. They make their own stuff. And they frequently win like best cocktails in North Carolina, like the statewide contest. They're pretty incredible with everything they do. They just rotated the menu to a new list of cocktails, and the one that I got is very similar to the cocktail that you made, John.
Oh,
The biggest difference is that instead of orgeat, they had a peach syrup.
Yeah, which would also work great in this.
And that is basically the only change.
Really? That's
like
crazy.
very similar. Almost the exact same shit. So I mean, like, I bet that's really
It
good.
is. It's very.
I think the only other change that they made, they did something. Oh, I think they probably put in more lemon than you put in. I think that it was probably like a full ounce, but it was like very
Yeah,
adjacent.
I actually didn't measure my lemon, which is why I say a splash. I just squeezed half a lemon. I used half a lemon for shrimp earlier, and then I squeezed the other half of the lemon through a strainer into the glass before I made everything. So, who's to say?
There you go.
Who's to say?
That
Yeah.
tracks. Sounds amazing, though, and the beer sounds great. I wanted to mention, too, we've gotten a couple of people that have said, your recommendations in San Diego have been great, which is better than PJ and I can really say, because I feel like so few people have been to the breweries that we've recommended or talked to comparatively.
Yeah.
So, and we've had a couple people talk about the breweries out in California.
Hell yeah.
So,
Also, San Diego is such like a destination. So I feel like if you're from near you and you recommend breweries, people are going to go to them and it's going to be awesome. But like, it's easier to recommend breweries in like New York, San Diego, LA, Chicago, something like that, where it's like, yeah, people might just be here for a reason. So yeah.
People have been to the breweries that I've recommended in New York. There are also so few.
Exactly.
So
Whereas there's,
I mean, you went to KCBC,
which was great.
Yeah.
I fucking loved KCBC. But and then San Diego's just such a beer town. It's easy to give good recs here. Yeah. But thank you. That actually makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Very.
Yeah, we had one listener go to Ballast Point for sure, and there was another one that went somewhere else that you'd recommended.
Incredible. Yeah.
I can definitely pull that up in our Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's
I can't wait to take you on a brewery tour, all walking distance from my apartment one day.
Hell yeah, that's the plan. In September.
What are we drinking?
I
love the color of that.
If you can see,
it almost has a green tint to it a little bit.
It's almost green. So I was like, I'm kind of just feeling like a mule, but I don't have any lime. And so I was like, all right, let's do some a little fun little spin on a mule. So this is 2 ounces of vodka, an ounce of dry curacao, and then just a little bar spoon of green chartreuse, an ounce of lemon, an ounce and a half of lemon, and then ginger beer, basically. So,
that sounds really nice.
Mule.
Yeah.
But it's so good. The curacao really rounds it out, and then obviously ice.
I already know I would like that more than your average run of the mule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It tastes so much better. It's just so good. Big fan.
Yeah.
Very refreshing. Almost.
Wow, we made two nice, light, responsible for podcasting alcohol content, refreshing, delicious cocktails, and I didn't name mine.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
I didn't.
All right,
either.
Let's see here. We could do this. We could do. Oh, I got it.
Oh, for sure. You want to see?
It's Anakin with a K.
That's good. We'll take it. We'll take it. I'm gonna call mine Duran's Proof.
I like it. I've changed mine to the Anakin Palmer.
Okay. Nice. That's way better.
Cool. Duran's Proof.
Yeah, because when he shoots himself in the end of this.
What?
To follow that up, I'm having, I think, the same beer that I had last time. I think it was last time. If not, it was a time ago. But it's it's a crowler of the Scottish Carrot Cake Double Belgian.
Incredible.
Which I believe is what I had on the last episode. If it wasn't last, it was the one before that.
Very good.
And then my secret bonus, because I was like, well, maybe, and it may pop up in the video, is another Flytrap beer that is their Saison, but it's bourbon barrel aged.
Ooh, ballsy. A ballsy boy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
sick.
I'm definitely, if I'm not drinking it here, I am drinking it while watching.
Yeah, of course.
Finale of.
I went super light.
I
went super light with my cocktail because, admittedly, I was gonna get a beer from a different brewery walking distance, but then they were out of cans and they don't do growlers. So I got a beer there because I was like, well, I'm not gonna walk in, ask if you have cans. You tell me no, I'm gonna walk out all. Well, then buy. Right. So I got a half pour. Yeah. It's fine. So then I went to Ballast Point, and they do growlers, but I had to make sure I wanted the that I hadn't tried that I was going to get.
So you
So I
got
had
a
to
half
get
pint.
a half pint, half pour. And so, I was like, all right, I should probably go really light on my cocktail. 'Cause maybe I did like a little brewery tour before this even started. Maybe I'm a little sleepy because of it, but it's okay.
Hey, I feel you. Like I said, friend's birthday, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a cocktail at this place, and I was like, it's gonna be the one with black tea in it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Give me a little kick. Cool. All right. Well, awesome little lineup that we have on both sides of things. Really excited to talk about these next couple of chapters. And we're doing well in time.
All
So,
right.
with that said, the highest place. Hadrian continues his walk ahead, his walk forward toward the light in this infinite hall that turns into a narrow bridge running out just enough in front of him. He calls out to Phoenix Flight, even in hopes of getting any response from anyone on this mountainside. He turns around and is greeted quickly by a wall, demanding that he walk forward towards this new mountain as dark canals run below.
Yeah. Look, this is new for our boy Hadrian. I mean, he's kind of experienced something like this before, but it's not new for me. Our boy walked into a Terra Angriel.
Now, not entirely
is what
wrong.
I'm pretty sure is going on. This is the second of the rings he has to pass through to become an accepted, I believe.
Yeah.
No, this is some of like the. I mean, we're building to it right now. It's just very kind of tense and mysterious, and you can feel the swell. I'd say that there's a lot of writing in here where the descriptions and the tension feel musical, like it almost feels scored in a way. You can kind of there's not much dialogue, there's not much visual, there's just kind of this building tension that is really nice in this section, and you're very excited to see where it goes.
There's a rhythm
as you move. There's this rhythm, and it's all very eldritch, and he even calls out specifically this existence being eldritch that he's witnessing a little bit later. But yeah, it has that feeling of Daenerys going through the wizard's trial, or of anybody trying to go through the challenges to become an accepted, passing through the Terra Angriel, or Rand or Matt going into the Aelfin and Aelfin. It's got that feel to it that is so beyond science fiction in many ways, and so mystical and so fantastical that it like I get so excited because now I feel like I'm reading fantasy, which is more so my jam. And as much as I'm really loving this story, and I really love Red Rising, and I can definitely get down with some sci-fi, you start hitting me with just a little bit of magic, and oh man, I'm in. Even if you explain the magic away as science, it's still fucking eldritch horror and just this expanse of misunderstood powers existing in the world, permeating beyond our grasp that we can learn to harness. What is that if not magic in every fantasy world?
Yeah. And for the record, part of me was leery about covering the series because, again, not like entirely. I was like, especially after you got through the first book and you liked it, I was like, okay, we're good. But like, part of me was like, hopping into something that feels like a harder science fiction. It feels like that initially, especially comparing it to Red Rising, the contemporary comparison that you're drawing. But this is instead a much more fantastical story.
Very much
This
so.
is much more sci-fantasy than Red Rising is at all.
Yeah.
And Red Rising is fairly sci-fantasy compared
certainly.
to a lot of like real science fiction. So like this is where it like stretches fully into like, we are in a fantasy story in space.
This pushes it far into that Star Wars level of this is wizards, this is space fantasy. And I really dig it. I was getting so giddy listening to this section through to the end that I finished it, went and did all my grocery shopping and chores and meal prep, grabbed my book, went down to the pool deck, and just started again. Like an hour later, I was like, all right, back to the highest place, back on through. Like, this is incredible. So yeah.
It's a good little section. And especially if you consider just the series of weeks that we've had in a row. Like last week we got all the
oh my god, yeah.
Week before we get Gibson, we return to we see Colchis. Next week, the week after, we meet Horizon, and we get like this fucking crazy deep dive. And
dude, and this is all pulling off of like this is all coming out of Return to the Capital, where we get like a super cool assassination subplot with a return to the Colosso, and then an idea that maybe the Quiet chose the Hadrian they chose to make a future where the correct hand was there to save him from this assassin who then fucking melts. Like, this book is going crazy pretty much the whole time through. I get why. I think I've heard this is a lot of people's favorite in the series. And I get it. I get it so far. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's damn good. I mean, regardless, I think it's an undeniable book. And it's also the book where, like, I feel pretty confidently that if you don't enjoy the story after you finish this book,
DNF. Yeah.
you should just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should just stop. It's not for you, and that's totally fine. But this book is so fucking wild
Yeah.
that it's like, how could you not, at the very least, like, continue to see this to the end?
Yeah.
to
I mean,
some
it's how
degree?
I feel.
Also, again, it's like the halfway
Not to
point.
keep
Yeah.
pulling comparisons, because I do feel like they're just inherently such different books. But like, I feel like if you read Red Rising and you're not that into it, if you finish Golden Sun and you still don't like it, then maybe you don't need to read the rest of the series. That's fine. But like,
Yeah.
finish Golden Sun. This, to me, I feel like Howling Dark was kind of that, but very much so, even more
I
so
think
this.
so, for
Like,
most people.
if you finish this and you're not into it, I don't know what you're looking for, but it's not this series. Like, this is like delivering everything I could want out of this series all in one book, back to back to back to back. Like, so yeah.
And off of a banger book that, like, completely reframes
Yeah.
it. You know, like, Howling Dark is incredible.
Exactly.
And then this is like,
yeah.
you had another gear?
Right,
You
exactly.
had
Yeah.
4 more gears? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
very, very just excited with this section of the book.
Yeah. So here at this highest place as well, he hears an echo of Brethren's voice in his ear as he has spent days, or maybe just hours, he can't even really tell, centuries even at one point, climbing. Yet he feels the human need for food, sleep, and general comfort. His inner voice tells him to get up as he continues to press forward on his hands and knees, and he eventually collapses and sleeps in the dirt.
Hey, we all take a little dirt nap sometimes.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, the jump scare whenever physically reading this section to see Brethren's writing show back up, like, he's here. Oh no, okay, it's just Hadrian.
The highest place. Seek hardship. Yeah.
Yeah. Hadrian's going through it. He's not having a good time here. Time is but an imagination. It's a concept, a construct. That's what I'm looking for. But he's literally inside of a construct, a machine that exists outside of our parameters of understandable time, moving sideways through
Bridging
existences.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he gets sleepy, as I've done before.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more like the collapse is more of a symbolic one,
course, yeah.
right? Like, his mind is stretched so far within this time frame that he just begins to collapse and fall down and, like, not understand and not be able to see forward. It reminds me of Rand, and we haven't called out that much Wheel of Time comparatively, but what is the trial that he goes to? I think it's Dragon Reborn, of the.
Is it in the Shadow Rising when he goes through Ruiden?
Yes. The runes of Ruiden. Yep.
Yeah. I know a little something about that.
Yeah.
Little something.
Yeah. Right.
Ruiden.
You read it more than I have. I've only read it through, like, the one and
well, you've read more of it than me. I've never finished the last book.
That's true, as mentioned previously. But yeah, Ruiden is such a good comparison, and especially the TV show adaptation.
Very much so.
Just feels very adjacent, where it's like it's sort of like pushing and pressing and driving him down in such a way.
There's also this feeling that I got, which is this kind of a joke, but also a little serious, where it's like Rockio's getting away with calling this everything Anakin, and then is also having our protagonist collapse on his important trek up the side of a black volcano.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but there's no Samwise Gamgee there to carry him. So
he's got to carry his fucking
himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. A different Hadrian should have been like, I can carry you. Which is kind of what happens, because he reaches out across existences to find the version of himself that is able to get up. Anyways,
yeah, we're gonna talk about that in about a moment here. Because he does wake and he sees a single white flower and thinks himself mad. He thinks back to the Galar petal that had fallen, Again, you sort of bring up the reference to like Lord of the Rings. We can think to the White
Mhm.
Tree. We can think to all these different things from fantasy sci-fi that kind of call back to us at the very least as touchstones. And he reaches out and touches it and hears the whisper of his own name. Strength returns to him, and he presses himself up to stand and proclaims, "I can hear you. Here I am," as he triumphantly addresses the quiet, which is a crazy way to end a chapter before flipping into a chapter called The Agony.
Yeah. Like,
You're
what
like
do you
triumphant, and
mean?
it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. But the agony, I mean, obviously we're gonna talk a little bit about this chapter. There's gonna be a couple
Yeah.
things that we maybe say
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
chapter here or there. We're gonna be maybe talking about it.
It's like the equivalent of 3 chapters. Yep.
Yeah. Feels I mean, damn right religious. Like it is I feel like I'm reading Revelation whenever I'm here in this chapter. It's got this like, and upon Doriaca's silver horns, I saw 1,000 lives, and upon those 1,000 lives, I saw a man riding in fire through the flame. Like, it definitely has that prophetic, but oh man, hard to parse. What's the cryptic, prophetic, like
Yeah.
doom of everything, vision, prophecy? I don't know. The way how it's portrayed here is very I like very much so
It's end
how
times.
it
Yeah.
pulls together that like feeling of how so much apocalyptic prophecy from across different religions, the way how it's written, this harkens to that in such a believable, feelable way. If you grew up religious, pretty much in any religion that has any sort of apocalypse prophecy tied to it, or even if you're into
Yeah.
mythology that also holds those uh, apocalyptic
Yeah.
prophecies, it feels like that, like in such a impressive way with the writing. So
Norse in some ways. I mean,
yeah,
there are definitely. I mean, it's impossible to not say that there are definite callouts to Gnosticism and Christianity throughout this, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of those. And I'm not. I don't want to belabor the point at this point for speculation's sake about some of these things, but like you could see elements given the mountain to say like, hey, is this an example of the Transfiguration? Like, which is a big point within Christianity of like, and then suddenly, Elijah and Moses, I think, appear before Peter, John, Mark, while Jesus is there in spirit, like in spirits on the mountain, blah, blah,
right,
blah. But that's not exactly what we get here. We get elements of that,
yeah,
maybe, but it's not the same. No one else is there to witness it. Could this be Hadrian also just pulling our fucking legs? Who knows? But he is gone for 40 fucking
yeah.
days,
And
as
his
Falca
suit
says,
says
and that is
3,
a an important Christian number from that perspective, and
and
just Abrahamic religion number 40 is
well,
huge.
and
So
so is 3. How long he was actually gone,
yeah, yeah,
and the number of how long they were looking. They were looking for him for 40 days, which was an incredibly big
right.
uh, Abrahamic religious number, especially involving like catastrophe and change.
Hmm.
And then he was actually gone for 3 days and is the Messiah character of the series. So, do with that what you will. um,
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, there are certainly elements, and again, there are elements of many things layered throughout this, and so it's tough not to call out the very obvious ones for us here. And like I said, there's Gnosticism, there's things like that, but a lot of it at this point would be nothing more than like brash
of
speculation,
course.
as opposed
Yeah.
to us being able to circle back and be like, okay, could we call out the 5 different like points at which when was Hadrian crucified? When was his transfiguration? When was his baptism? Like that'll be something different maybe when we end the series that we can
Of
like walk
course.
through
Yeah.
on that perspective, and then we can tie in. There's a good amount of like Hindu symbolism,
Oh, yeah.
obviously with Siddhartha and the tree. Like there's a lot of like very
Well, I was going to
different,
say we get
or
into
sorry,
some
that's
shit
Buddhism,
in
but
this chapter
yeah,
that feels like you mentioned Norse, like it feels like the world tree. And then
yeah,
there's also
hmm
the idea of maybe a great serpent that slithers through the world tree eating realities, as
yeah,
maybe we find
right.
out the main villain of our story is like the quiet but different.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So there are all these different things, and we're going to talk about the agony now. But I think importantly, before we I want to preamble this a little bit to say there is no way that you, dear listener, of whom has maybe finished the series, can anticipate us getting into all of that right now without the further context. Like, I know that there are breakdowns of some of these very important chapters to talk about interesting symbolism and things like that, but this is not that moment. This is not that podcast. Keep it out of the comments.
All right, cool.
I hate you. I'm just kidding. Um,
Get it in there. Give me spoilers.
cool.
You know.
Yeah, no. I think there are entire episodes of wrap up that we're going to have on
Mhm,
different like
of course.
moments.
Yeah.
So, um, in my mind. So, with that, we can start the agony. The wind roars in answer as Hadrian is asked to open his helmet. Against his own instinct for preservation and survival, he does so and falls an impossible distance down before his knees strike stone and he breathes air. He asks where they are, and the quiet response behind the sage in some voice from off stage, which is just excellent.
Yeah, super interesting. Like, I do love that explanation. Like, behind the stage, the time and reality you exist in is all just being played out before the quiet, and they can see
Mhm.
the mechanisms of this theater, and they're rewriting the scripts, and they're changing the actors, and they're pulling the cables, and they're lowering the curtains, and like they I love the Oz of it all, kind of. But if
Mhm.
the wizard was actually that powerful, um,
Right. I think interestingly too, to draw a comparison here, what I also find fascinating, and this is something that we can kind of keep in the back of our minds for the rest of this chapter, is the fact that the Maricanii somehow were able to kind of predict and see some of
mhm.
this without being there to some degree. How? Mathematically, right? And so like can they see behind the stage or are they just aware that there's a stage,
That's
Like what
interesting.
is that?
Like maybe the
Yeah.
Maricani became aware of the stage that they are existing on, and that led them
Mhm.
to mathematically come to the conclusion that there must be one beyond the stage, but they're not necessarily able to see what the one beyond the stage can
Or
see.
many beyond the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, many beyond the stage, but many individuals
Right.
beyond the stage, not a collective beyond the stage, which
Mhm.
is its own interesting
Right.
revelation that we're going to get into this week.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe they just deduced the likelihood of the ones beyond the stage, and from there, based on all of the math of all of the stars that they could calculate, determined what the likelihood of the wants and desires of the ones beyond. I don't know. It gets like really in the same way that the quiet see and comprehend beyond what we can even begin to understand.
Mhm.
Like I feel like the Americani also developed to a point where we can't comprehend the way that they see through time and space, even though it's
And
and
predict.
predict
Yeah.
forwards and backwards, even though it is very different and very much more limited than something like the quiet.
Yeah, and again, I think the incomprehensibility is a part of the
Of
point,
course.
right? Like I think importantly, this is how the series maintains magic within a science fiction world is the inability to perfectly explain something such as are like we were making the jokes about it, but such as buildings moving backward through time. It's like it makes enough sense and we can definitely track it and there's a definite certainty to the answer that we've been given, but also how do you actually how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Um
yeah.
it does like there's aspects of this too that are like begging the question of like how much, if ever, will Rockio get into things that must be that have happened in our real history, like American or not Americana, but the quiet guiding specific parts of our own history to an
Sure.
end. I don't know, like if we'll ever dive into that, but it all gets interesting, you know.
Yeah.
It hurts the head slightly, but is very fun to think about.
Yeah. I think that that's one of the interesting things that this series plays with, that there's only one other series that I've read that even gets close to like kind of messing around with that. Um, I guess the Wheel of Time kind of
To
does,
a
but
degree.
like that is less explicit,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Um, but one other series, in total that I've read that kind of culminates in an interesting similar way. And again, it's playing around with the idea of like a singularity, other things like that. There's a lot here to talk about though within this chapter. Can't go can't go too
Right,
far into all
right.
of these just distant esoteric questions, but I think it's important to keep in the background that like there are multiple forces that perceive time, the stage, objects that are at play very differently, or like are maybe aware of the quiet for Jari, of whom gets referenced,
Yeah.
right, is also more than once, which means the deeps are real and actually do see something crazy.
Yeah.
There's all these different
It
things.
it
Yeah.
really does almost like give the idea that regardless if you want to view these as interdimensional xenobites or something like that, essentially their role within the universe itself as they're competing against each other for existence is godhood. Like, we're dealing with
They're
gods.
gods, yeah. Sure.
They're
A pantheon.
It's a pantheon. They're active individuals with their own interests outside of time and reality, guiding reality to their own whims. Like, and they are creators of universes. At the end of the day, there's no way to view that other than this is a pantheon, and we're stuck in like a super high science fiction, sci fantasy version of like a D&D campaign where you get caught between the gods and their intentions, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of such a great representation of that, where the flower was before, there is now a man, I even wrote this, voluminous stone standing stark against the sky on the mountaintop, a circle bisected by a vertical line at its very peak. He stares into this stone and sees his own reflection. While it looks the same, his violet eyes meet green staring back at him from his own unmoving reflection as he kind of tries to do the dodge thing that he did in Empire of Silence. He asks why the quiet brought him back, and it simply replies, "You are the shortest way."
And I love that he's not the only way. He's just the most direct for them right now, right? Like, whatever it is that needs to happen for them to exist, whatever must be, Hadrian is their most direct route. But, like, could also be perhaps dismissed or cast aside if he no longer continues to be their most direct route or their shortest route or their best route, you know? So,
yeah. Or ignore
yeah,
it,
exactly.
you know, for a time.
Yeah.
If you were to like diverge.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, no longer the shortest route. Cool. And then Hadrian could be like,
buddy.
All right. You don't believe me? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Bad, real bad. Yeah. Yeah, I just sort of a crazy moment, especially again to see this representation of Hadrian green-eyed, you know, kind of staring back again. Although now there at the end of this, there's the question of, is this a manifestation of the quiet staring back, or is this an alternate Hadrian, you know, from a different present or past?
I do think the green eyes, because like Gibson with the green eyes, multiple characters with green eyes representing the quiet to some degree represents the quiet no matter what. We could probably dive.
He also calls out the brow being different, right? Oh no,
that's later. Yeah, brow and chin. But that feels like an alternate Hadrian. But this is I feel like the green eyes are important to indicate the quiet. We could dive into why green all we want, but
is there anything you think about green?
I mean, to me it feels like growth, rebirth, and renewal. And the quiet aren't here to save this universe or anything, but to build and begin a new one. But also because the way how they move through time, perhaps the new universe they build is ours that we're currently living through, including Hadrian. In their future, they'll create a universe that will be ours. The one that...
Is this a loop?
Yeah, exactly. Gets it...
Kind of,
maybe. But yeah, it feels like they are... Like green to me brings, especially in a chapter as inherently religious feeling as this, like images of Eden, you know? And so they are the beginning of a new nature that is in their future and possibly our past, which could mean that they create the nature that we live in that will eventually result in their birth so that they can move forward through our past to create us.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yep. Doing
cool.
Great. Doing great. Yeah. No. I think for this
hug
song,
this.
It's just gonna finish my cocktail real quick.
Just.
You know, Josh, if it makes you feel better, I had a near 3-hour conversation with my dad when he finally finished
week.
That's another reason I didn't see the Odyssey or Spider-Man.
Fair enough.
As he finally finished it, and we were disentangling the end of it, and he was like, "I can't believe you're doing this on your podcast."
Oh my god!
Like, I know, it's a lot. Yeah,
I'm excited.
He's like, "We talked for 3 hours."
I'm excited to detangle. We'll probably have to do the finale in like multiple episodes, I guess.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to slow down the finale pretty significantly, and then wrap-ups are important. So, yeah. especially like combo. We always do for a series. We do like the book wrap up, and then we do like a series wrap up. But for this, there might be like a third distant wrap up of like, okay, now let's review what we think the actual end of the or whatever. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll
We'll
see.
just get
Um,
like some guests on for multiple wrap ups. Probably do one that has like me and you and PJ and your dad and Christopher Rocchio and the ghost
yeah.
of the ghost of George R. R. Martin, because he'll probably be dead by then, and the ghost of Robert Jordan, and and I guess we'll get Pierce Brown in there to be like, our books aren't that similar, and then we'll get
Sanderson will be like, "Why didn't you explain it clearly?" from the
Sanderson's not invited. And he'll be like trying to join the Zoom room. And we'll keep sending him messages like, I don't know why it's not working. Just like,
beginning?
I really
Sanderson
like
out.
Sanderson. It's just
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like
me
it's
too, me
extra
too, me
funny to invite Sanderson but not let him into the
Oh yeah, I mean it's also fun because like everyone that we've talked about at Sans Jordan, we've covered on the show. So it's also like yeah, we've talked a lot. I mean, I've talked a lot about Mistborn. I've talked a lot about Stormlight. We talked a lot about Red Rising for sure.
Yeah.
The only one you didn't mention is Joe, and Joe just lost the
Yeah,
email.
well, we emailed Joe, but he didn't read it.
he forgot the
Yeah.
login to the
Joe
email, so he never saw it.
Joe said, "Yeah, I'll be there," and then never thought about it again.
Yeah.
Continued on with his life.
Um, yeah, it's a great thing to think about, especially to pull this back to the significance of the color green. There's some interesting potential symbolism there, but we're kind of left to wonder, a little bit. So appreciate your insight. Hadrian then reaches out his hands and touches his reflection's hand, and in that moment, he sees instead infinite mountaintops reflecting multiple sparrowhawks against this sort of like parrot, like spinning idea of this image across time as we begin to understand it. More looking out in either direction, but only, only of these moments ever occurs. One of these moments only ever occurs at a time. And as a part of that, he sees an almost infinite set of possibilities, including the Americanii rising and falling, the peace of Felsenburg in the past, the earth burning, and ancient civilizations rise and fall. And in addition, his own breakings that occurred. One when the quiet intervened to drive him to a mesh, and again we lost his head. So he peers past the present into the discrete past, and then also into those infinite pasts, which is fucking crazy.
So, I mean, he doesn't mention it, but does this mean that Hadrian now knows what happened to him on his journey to Amesh?
He just says that he believes that he got plucked out. He somehow that
Yeah,
like
that's
I'll
wild.
pull the
Yeah.
quote while you explore your thoughts here. I'll pull
I
the
mean, that
quote.
was pretty much just the whole thought, like, that I got from
Yeah.
that one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like that mystery of what happened has just been there, and it's like, oh, they just decided you're on a mesh now. They passed by a mesh and they just decided you're in the river.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, this quote: "Beneath the gaze of my vision, naked time rolled like a carpet, like a thin sheet of oil atop an ocean of what might be. Time's wave broke, and infinite nows shattered and sank into darkness, save that one which we would say occurred." I love Rockio's use specifically of water to convey time and
Yeah.
waves and like an ocean flooding, receding, and the shoreline being like the timeline that's established, based on the washing of all possibilities against
Yeah,
it.
he also talks about like how the Americanii described roads, but he views them more as rivers, which I think ties into that same idea that the Americanii can only view things through construction, through order, whereas he views it as a river, which is more natural, something that flows outside of our own control and things like that. So the water um, connection is definitely like one that works really well within the idea of like the fluidity of time in the story, I think.
Yeah, and again, sort of that like birth, rebirth, sort of like mantra that you were talking about, right? Like often used as a religious piece of symbolism, regardless of religion, to signify, change and rebirth.
Very much so. Yeah.
That quote is shortly thereafter, though, in this little segment. I do love this little note as he's kind of reflecting on all the history that we already said. He says, I saw the earth burning and the white chariot of Apollo that first carried us to the stars. And such a simple line, but to like reference the Apollo mission and like instead call it out as like a chariot makes it feel so much more mythologically
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. Incredible.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh,
The quote, though, on the broken side of things is, "At last I understood this meaning, seeing clean fractures where my thread passed from Delos, and the quiet had intervened to force me onto a mesh, and where Arenata had taken my head." So it is very. He was directed for this to happen. The quiet played its hand to push him in this direction, or push the ship, or something.
yeah. So, man. But we still don't necessarily know exactly what happened.
Divine intervention of a sort.
But now Hadrian does to a degree. And that means that it's been at least, it's been around 400 years since Amesh, we come to learn. It's 3 days for Hadrian here. It was 40 days out there, so time travels differently amongst whenever behind the stage, time moves in strange ways. Which means that if Hadrian ending up on a mesh was direct divine intervention, then it could just be like a few weeks to a few months in for Saltus, so he could return pretty easily soon here.
I mean, the math checks out. I bet he's on Anakin.
I bet he
future past
is one of those faces covered in the mountain.
You think he's one of the faces?
Imagine Hadrian's like, there's this mountain with all these great faces. Is that fucking Salt? What? Is that the guy who told me I was a homunculus? Like, that's crazy. Yeah.
Love that. To move forward a little bit from that intense moment that happens as we kind of reflect on the history of humanity. From there, he kind of turns and he stares forward like Jari had to see what broke him, and to read just the quote here. The Cielson roared and raged across the galaxy. Planets burned and fell. Billions of lives ended. Blood flowed like water and soaked the stars. I felt the heat and saw the sun flash of nuclear fire as ships and cities died. I saw men and women corralled and chivied into shuttles to be taken back to the victorious Cielson warships. I saw the white cities of Forum plunge burning from the sky. All that art and history, all the glory of our age and empire fell in ashes like snow. Red-haired princes hung on hooks like sides of meat, and I recognized faces I knew. Crude Philip and Rickard, proud Aurelian. There, too, were Titania and Vivienne and the Empress, who hated me. And there was Selene, and Alexander, each mounted on hooks beneath their ribs, paraded on tall staffs like banners.
Dude, an insane visual. Also could have just said on hooks. I didn't need to hear about it being beneath their ribs. I could have figured that out, and then I was now forced to think about the feeling of hooks under my ribs, and that I didn't enjoy that. I rather.
I'm back to thinking about Overlord, man. I'm back to thinking about
God.
Overlord.
Yep. Every goddamn day I think about Overlord. A movie I saw once in theaters and didn't know anything about, and then just got to experience a masterpiece, and then just got to move on with my life. Yeah. There's also, like, I feel like there's an interesting parallel, and it could just be purely coincidental, or just like, whenever one person's writing a story, they'll use similar wording or imagery place to place. But like the idea of humanity being loaded onto these world ships to be consumed by the Cielson is so parallel to humanity being marched into the pyramids to be consumed by the Americanii, and it just seems like on all directions there's just this future for humanity to be consumed to fuel another species or another entity, and like this is the one narrow path where that doesn't happen.
We're energy, in either way.
Exactly. We're just energy in either way, unless Hadrian does some genocide.
Yep, which he doesn't want to do. I did want to point out, there's another note here that I'll get into in a moment, but I do love that final line It's got a little bit of like a rhythm to it, very explicitly. We've talked about this whole section kind of having a rhythm, and there was Selene and Alexander, each mounted on hooks beneath the ribs, paraded on tall staffs like banners, is a fucking soliloquy. Like
Yeah.
he is nailing the sort of Shakespearean tone, especially there. That's like a perfect sentence.
Oh yeah, beautifully done. Visceral in an unpleasant way for sure. No wasted
Yeah,
words.
yeah.
No wasted words in this section.
No, yeah, yeah.
I
It's just it has the lilt.
I don't even think
to
I
it
like. I don't even want to say the sentence. I
and
feel
rhyme.
like maybe one thing that Rockio does is have some wasted words within it. Like there's an over verboseness sometimes. Right here, there's none.
Within
This
this?
right
Oh, yeah.
here,
Oh,
no.
sure.
Like
You mean
this
in general.
is
Yeah.
so perfectly written. I think in general you'll hit moments where it's like, did we need to talk about that and then talk about this and then go back to talking about that, whatever it is, or sometimes like there may be a desire to overly complicate a statement, but like right here is just perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only is it perfect from the portrayal, but also I just gotta give him like the literary prop of
Exactly.
like, man, you just decided you were gonna write Shakespeare real
Yeah.
quick. You're just gonna
Just
do
throw it in there
that.
a little bit.
Hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Worth noting too within this moment in this scene as well, he also sees his sister that he doesn't know, or who he assumes his sister that he doesn't know, with black ships descending on his home planet, um, to burn it as well. That's kind of haunting for
That
him.
shit's got me curious, for sure. As someone who has met her, who I can't remember her first name.
Um,
I know her last name's Marlowe.
Cassandra?
No,
No,
Cassandra was
not Cassandra.
the baddie, right? The old lady that came back. I don't know.
Tough to
We
say.
read that a while ago.
Man, what the frick is her name? Marlowe.
Family tree.
Yeah, family tree. Sun Eater. Um, and I can do this and you can't because it's
Yeah, no, ain't no way I'm looking.
yeah. Sabine.
That sounds more right. That sounds more correct.
Yep, it's Sabine. Darissa is her middle name. Sabine Darissa.
Yeah, I don't know why I needed to know that right now, but I did. I did need to know that right now. So
I mean, I was in the same
yeah,
boat, but he doesn't know the name. He
right.
just sees her. Which is another fun call out because I believe again that this book was written around like he was right. I think he wrote The Lesser Devil around the time that he was writing this book.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, he states here like the sister I never met, like, and that implies ever throughout his story to where he is now writing this that he never comes to meet Sabine.
Right.
I guess technically he could have been like that I had never met, and that just means yet at this point in the story. But I think there is an implication that him and Sabine never meet, and I hope maybe I get to read a little bit more about Sabine in the future. But I used to say,
Yeah,
it's big. The universe is vast. The Emperor is far away.
the universe is vast and the Emperor is far
Yeah.
away. If you looked at our schedule, Josh, you'd know that after we come back from our interesting, fun little break side tangent, our first story back is a story called The Four Devils.
Ah, okay. Cool.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
We'll see. From there, though, we make a big old jump, and we see the Demiurge's bridge in a dark place, two massive fleets converging over a green world and a yellow sun in the distance. And Hadrian knows the number now, all the men that he is responsible for the deaths of, as it's been read to him at his trial, before he's seemingly greeted by another Hadrian Marlowe standing there, black cloak and all. Although, maybe not exactly the same as he seems to be seeing this brow, this chin, just a little bit different, peering in on a conversation of the future as well, where he blows up that sun. Hadrian screams in agony and pain as the son is murdered, and while he refuses, the quiet holds him and unspeaking says, "This must be." And when pressed further, he says, "We must be."
So like the royal we or
Well, at first it's like the royal we, but
Yeah.
then it is like we kind of learned that it's like it's like the emperor's we. It's
Exactly,
me. It's
yeah.
I.
Yeah. It's Yeah, I mean, Hadrian has seen the sun eating, as is the titular moment of the book. But this is like such a direct, like, Hadrian moves on now from this point in the story. There's a Hadrian in the story that is moving forward, knowing what the past is going to be, and a Hadrian at the past that's moving backwards through time, telling us the future of the story, just like the Quiet in his ruins. But um,
Not that
yeah,
different. Yeah.
but yeah, it's really interesting how much Hadrian sees of exactly what will be and must be here. I understand like the I won't fucking do it, but then Hadrian's like, why do we gotta kill this Yeltsin? Whenever like just a second ago, Hadrian was like 2 sections ago, Hadrian's like, well, I think we're gonna have to kill all the Yeltsin, and so I just don't think Hadrian likes being told what to do more than anything.
Yeah, he's like, they kind of suck.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like, but I don't want to kill him for you. I don't want to commit genocide for
yeah. I'll do
you.
it for me, but not for
Why
you. I'm
would I?
doing it because I want
Yeah.
to, not because you told me to, sort of a thing.
And a war is so different than genocide.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like waging a war is one thing for like control, dominance, to force someone out to do something else in certain circumstances. But to
Eradicate a
commit
people. Yeah.
genocide,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's completely different. In addition to the lives of humanity that he burns, he
Yeah.
says he kills
Billions.
north of 2 or 3
Hmm.
billion people in total, in addition to like 127 million soldiers. Like, what?
Yeah. He does a big bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he gets imprisoned on his favorite place ever, a library. Yeah. Isn't that how it
Yeah.
works though?
Somehow.
If you're rich and powerful enough, you just go to a luxury hotel for your prison sentence. But
That is what we mentioned. I mean, I'm forgetting the dude's name now
Jordan
again.
Belfont,
We were talking about him a little bit earlier.
Belfort,
Belfort, yeah,
yeah.
Belfort for sure. Um, but the guy who got sent maybe to one of the prison planets, yeah.
Oh, that.
Um,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Versus what he did to Bourbon,
yeah,
which is fucking
just
kill him.
fucking killed
Yeah,
him. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. This must be, and also interestingly, as we kind of listen into the conversation that Hadrian has, he tucks those words in there, into that sentence that he says to before he calls the command to fire, which is fascinating.
yeah.
And
I
also,
do love that moment of not knowing if that Hadrian sees this Hadrian
mhm,
or if he's just looking into the distance.
looking at him.
But it seems like he looks
Mhm.
directly at him and speaks to him before moving on to fire at will.
Yeah, he kind of glimpses at him, and then he turns back to fire.
And if you think about it, it's not really Hadrian's fault for committing this massive atrocity. It's Will's fault for being located on the sun. And if they're going to have to shoot Will, then yeah,
Yeah,
William.
right.
William, aka Switch. I think Switch was located on the sun, and Hadrian had to kill him by all means necessary.
Had to. Yeah,
Um,
this which fucking
yeah,
sucks.
exactly.
Yeah. It is worth noting too that like we also get from this view the emperor surviving until this point. There's this brief, like, the emperor is here as this final charge in this version of history that we're seeing.
Yeah, and like also gets wiped out, right? Is like one of
Yeah,
Hadrian's
right.
victims is the emperor himself. So it's like, is this the moment
Hmm.
that leads to Hadrian sitting upon the throne with the crown with the eggshell embedded within it, or
Necklace. Yeah,
him?
yeah.
Shit, he's being bad again.
Um,
Yeah.
Bound to happen. From there, I mean, it just is.
Yeah,
Dogs,
dogs
animals,
be barking.
they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna do it. It's gonna bark. He's gonna bark. Um, the quiet though does say, "Listen," came the entity's response. A single word no louder than the rustle of wind through the autumn leaves. It faded from my hearing and was gone. I love the demand of the quiet, which speaks little, and we've gotten this silence is wisdom sort of like
Of
note,
course.
and then for it to demand for him to listen, I think is like such a good tangential point to build upon.
Yeah,
Like, you motherfucker. That's been the point of the book.
100%. It's almost like this book should have been called Empire of Silence, but
Perhaps.
um, yeah, a very
Yeah.
interesting command from a creature called the Quiet, but fitting here in
Mhm.
this
To
moment.
listen. Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember if it's here or later as well, but there's reflection on hearing the blood. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This I believe it's around here is when we get sort of the response quote to like nature and blood. I'll try to find it real quick
Yeah,
here.
it's like
Um,
people will often say that whenever spending time in complete silence for long enough, hearing like the pumping of your own blood can drive you mad, but it's not the silence that drives you mad, it's yourself. Like it's having nothing to distract you from the madness that was always within. It's just such a sick quote and such a cool reframing of that first quote about the blood driving you mad.
you are so damn close to that quote. Hang on, I just pulled it up. Um, you like nailed it for
Hell
the
yeah.
most part.
Cool.
So hang on. To give it the full breath, you're so close to the essence. So absolute is silence I have never known. We fear silence. I said once that darkness is chaos itself. That in darkness any and all things might arise unseen, like the cat from Pandora's evil box. We'll talk about that in a moment. Silence is like that, but more profound. There was a darkness before the dawn of time, and silence too. But silence was the deeper thing, the canvas against which all thought is measured. You have heard stories of men driven mad in quiet rooms by the rushing of their own blood. It is not true. It is not the sound that does it. It is themselves. In silence, they are confronted with their own natures and with nature itself, and cannot look it in the face. As darkness brings forth the creatures of the night, so silence brings forth the things within our own hearts, if we will but listen to it.
No notes, absolute banger. Um, that is my standout, I think, section of the week. I can't think of anything else that stood out to me as much as that singular section in this entire
Yeah.
part of the book. And there's a lot of standouts, and that's my number one. That's my number one quote, I think. So
It's pretty damn good, especially in a section that is littered with incredible quotes.
exactly.
Um, it's crazy, and in particular, have to love the callback, right? Like that callback is
To
very
have the
fun.
setup before
I
you even
was
get there. Yeah.
mhm. I was very tempted to end last week with Empire of Silence. Very
Hmm.
tempted because like that is such a fun
I like it being
tease to
here
end
with
on.
this section though a lot.
But you have to pair those quotes. Like I had to.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
couldn't help it. Yeah, yeah. So Hadrian tries to leave the mountain, closes his suit, and falls 10 feet and then 30 before he is knocked unconscious. He then wakes up back on the mountaintop, that black monument over top of him, and hears Gen's voice, but chooses not to wake. He hears switches as well, but again chooses to keep his eyes closed until he hears cats and then opens his eyes and sees his three dead friends there among the rocks. And they make a demand that he listen as he refuses the question from them. And so he sits in this absolute silence that we just spoke of. And that kind of leads directly into it. Ugh, so good.
Yeah. And this is the part where,
Anything there immediately?
well,
Yeah.
Gin shows him Christmas future, right? And then Switch shows him Christmas present,
Mm-hmm.
but then Cat's the one who actually gets to him by showing him, or the other way. Gin shows him Christmas past, and then Switch probably shows him Christmas present, and then Cat shows him Christmas future. Is that right? Which
Probably.
one is Marley and Marley? Which one is played by Waldorf and it's probably Krim
We're
or
yeah,
Gen,
probably
Gen, Gen,
Crim
Gen.
again. Yeah, right. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
Crim. Are we going
No.
back that far? Yeah. You're right. Um, this is also the moment in which we get a direct reference to the monument being like Sid Arthur before the Merlin tree, which is a fun fuck
Yeah,
up of
two
two
mythologies
mythologies
all
against each
fucked.
other. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also Pandora's
Yes,
cat,
I definitely clocked
um,
that one. I was like,
in the box. Yeah.
no. I mean, there is a
No.
box, and there is a cat, and there is a not knowing what's in the box in both aspects.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I,
It's not the same thing.
and the more I think about it, the more I think I don't blame. You can kind of mix them.
It actually kind of works for it to be Pandora's cat, but like I don't like it. It's not the guy
There's
responsible
just
for
an
the
eldritch
for
cat of
summoning weird
everything inside of this box.
of all of the horrors of humanity and hope,
Or is it not?
and everything else. Yeah, I think
There's a
importantly
box, and
though, like
inside there's
later he
either a
references
dead
it.
cat or the immensity of human fear.
and that's an important thing to debate and discuss. But importantly, I think later he references as though it is like, is the cat there or not? But also, fuck, that does work with your analogy. Fine, shit,
Yep. Is it a
shit,
dead
fuck.
cat?
Okay,
Or is it the horrors of the
yeah,
universe, Cross? What's in the box? You tell me. There's two
impossible to
options.
say,
And within any
yeah,
unopened
and we
box,
can't observe either of them.
there
Yeah,
is the possibility of it if anybody gives you a box. Every Christmas present you've ever opened, Crossland, has the possibility of having a dead cat or the immensity of all
of human
fear and
experience.
experience and pain and suffering and eventuality, or an Xbox 360. It could be any of those things. And in my experience,
You
it
know,
has usually been an Xbox 360 within the Christmas presents.
it's yeah. The pile has an extra normal rate of appearance
The
with an
Xbox
Xbox
360.
360. Yeah,
So
yeah.
far, more of those than either of the other two.
So far as I'm
I'm just,
aware, maybe the socks that I opened did cause human pain and
yeah.
suffering. I don't
And,
know.
I can't say I've never opened a box to a dead cat. I probably blocked it out if I did, but it feels like something I would block out if it happened. So, yeah.
And I just pluck a different
Oh,
version out of a
just
timeline that
I
didn't experience the
I
dead
wouldn't
cat
look,
thing.
but I'd
Yeah,
shift my vision sideways, then pull a version of
yeah.
myself that got an Xbox 360 instead. And that's probably what's
Exactly. Yeah,
Christmas is going to be extra
yeah.
scary this.
Anything else on the appearance of these three old friends?
I
And sort of the
do
two that are definitely dead and the one maybe
I
dead.
do like Hadrian's explanation, like of I didn't want to see Gin again. I don't want to see Switch
Mhm.
again. Here's Cat opens his eyes. Like that's the one out of these people that he craves to see again, and it's such an interesting moment because he feels guilt for all three of them and all three of their one of their deaths and one of their presumed deaths outside of Cat. But like
Mhm.
with Cat, it's interesting that that's the one that gets him. That's the one that makes him open his eyes. That's the one that he wants to see again. That and part of me wonders if it's because it's been so long, he'd begun to forget her face, as he kind of mentions, even if like Falca's at the end of his life, he's begun to forget. So did he open them because it was a moment to remember Cat in a way that it began to fade from his memory? Whereas again in Switch were still fresh. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough to say. This is also where like you immediately can maybe draw the transfiguration comparisons, but also not at all because like no one else is here to see it. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It actually, I would argue, not to spawn this argument in the comment section or anything, but I would argue this is way more in common with uh, the Christmas Carol, to your point, than it does with the Transfiguration. So like, grow up. I don't know.
exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
there's some stuff here, and I think it involves Jesus and Michael Caine
in
in
equal
equal
parts.
parts. Maybe we need a Muppets New Test. We need a Muppets The Life of Jesus where Jesus is played by Michael Caine.
We need a Muppets Passion
Oh
of the
my god.
Christ. You're
Like
right.
Passion of the Kermit would go crazy.
Oh my god! And it's not even you do Judas as the
Yeah,
human,
Judas.
and then everyone else is a Muppet.
Probably Robert Pattinson for some reason at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Throw him in there,
Just Robert Pattinson.
or Tom Holland. I don't
Just
know.
Robert Pattinson walking into a room and kissing Kermit and then walking away,
Yeah, yeah, for
throwing
sure.
silver at
Oh
his
my
feet.
god, holy shit! That almost moved me to tears. I'm not gonna lie. That was such a quick bit, but like,
I
god
need
damn,
Passion of the
Passion of the
Kermit
Christ.
so bad.
Passion of the Kermit would go so
Pontius Pilate
crazy.
would be Pontius and Pilate, played by the two old men Muppets.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, you're so right. Oh fuck.
Obviously, Fozzie
Okay,
Bear would be
but
Peter.
where's definitely. Hey, yeah. Fucking where's Gonzo?
I think you do it Christmas Carol style. Gonzo
Okay.
is Gonzo is the Apostle Paul telling the story after the fact to in letters to like all of the different people that he wrote letters to, spreading the gospel.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. We make it a full epistolary
Exactly. It's an
style. Yeah.
epistolary style where Gonzo is writing these letters to
Crazy.
like the Thessalonians at the end of the story after his like miraculous transition upon the road.
What if we merge this with Sesame Street just a little bit
Okay.
for the Muppets thing? And then Elmo is a member of the Roman mob that stones Jesus or tries
Oh,
to,
but he
right? So they throw
so
stones at
because
him.
so we can
But
get
it's
Rocco in there. What if Elmo's the one who starts the stoning of Jesus, and it's just he's having an
With
argument with Rocco, and he just throws Rocco, and it's not intentional, and it just hits Kermit. He's like, just everybody starts throwing rocks.
This could be perfect. I don't.
Hey,
I don't know what
I
anyone else
can't
could want out of
imagine
this.
anybody would be upset or offended by this.
No, not even slightly. I can't imagine
What? We're
anyone
telling
at
good
all.
Bible stories. What are you upset about?
There hasn't been a movie on this in a while.
Yeah, someone's gotta do it. Okay.
Oh man. Oh fuck.
Okay. Before we move
well,
on, as fast as you can.
Yep.
And we can only go up through.
Yeah.
Demon in White.
Okay.
Muppet Sun Eater. Who's your human? Which character? Which actor? Which Muppets are playing who? Rapid fire. Don't think too hard about it.
I mean, I feel like the human has to be Hadrian, unfortunately. And I think that that's a good call and a good thing for the story. Although it could be very fun just for Howling Dark to have Karn Segara be the human, which could be great, and everyone else is a Muppet around Karn.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Tex
but
Goldman and Jason Segel's character, those are two major. You can have multiple humans in a Muppet movie. It's fine.
okay, fair point. But I think in general, the usual conceit is like one main
Of
character
course,
that
yeah.
is a
Yeah.
human. Yeah. But okay, so Volka is definitely not Miss Piggy.
No, I
I
don't
think the
think so.
common misconception would be to throw Miss Piggy into that role. What's another female Muppet that we can stick in reasonably?
Well, there's the one that's in Dr. Teeth.
I got it. Swedish Chef. Not at all,
As Valk.
but definitely Volka. Yeah, I mean, she speaks the different language the most, and it would be hilarious. and then eventually Hadrian understands, nods, and communicates back.
Yes,
It's
of course.
perfect.
But of course. What if Valka's one of the Swedish chef's chickens?
Okay, there we go. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. What do you have? What's your
Not
your
much,
first
but I do
instinct
like. I can't get past the idea.
Sandra Lynn is Sam the Eagle.
I can't get past the idea from the earlier joke about the Passion of the Kermit of having Gonzo writing letters telling the story. So I'm actually putting Gonzo as Hadrian.
He could totally do it. Yep. If anyone could, he's the only one.
And because Gonzo is always obsessed with the Swedish chef's chickens and is definitely fucking those chickens,
this totally works. Yep.
Then one of the chickens is Valka, for sure.
Yep.
And
so is Cat.
Yeah.
So is
it's always one of the
pilot?
chickens. Just every love interest of Hadrian.
Yikes.
Is one of the chickens. And I think we have to make. I mean, it's hard because there's not many characters that like carry through so heavily. So I think you might have to do like a different human at different stages.
Sure.
So I think like Cat is played by a chicken, and then we have Gonzo. So in that moment, we're not going to have a lot of humans. Oh man, this is rough.
I swear to God.
This is rough.
Yeah.
Who do we even do?
Crow?
Crow is definitely Crow is played by Benicio del Toro. Like it has to just be like a crazy pull for every human that comes through. And then whenever we get I think like definitely Gen would probably be played by a human, and I imagine it might be
like Dave Bautista.
I was almost thinking like Russell Crowe, like
okay,
get a little just he's Gladiator, just full Gladiator.
Yeah.
Put the reference in there, let Gonzo point it out. Be like, wow, you look good in that.
Yeah.
really suits you. But yeah, I think you just carry through and you make whatever like prevalent side character in each moment a human. I do think that whenever we get to like, I think Tanneran is played by a human. So you get a Cielson played by a human, but it's gotta be like oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. The fucking king of monster makeup. He's always in Guillermo del Toro's movies, Shape of Water.
Oh my god, yeah.
Super tall guy.
I'm looking it up. Yeah.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones.
We put Doug Jones in full monster makeup, but we do have like a real terrifying Cielson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think by the time we get to like this point in the story, probably like Polino is like the most ongoing human. Yeah.
Polino or Lorian.
Yeah. I think Lorian is going to be played by Walter, the new Muppet from the modern movies. But yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah,
he could totally do it. Miss
the
Piggy
Empress
is Mataro. Oh, the Empress. Oh yeah, you're so right. Never mind. She can make a cameo as
she could play multiple characters.
Yeah. It's the joy of a Muppets series.
Exactly. Yes. All right, we can move on. Sorry.
Yeah. Now, we get a bit funky with the timelines. Hadrian sees an infinite number of realities. Where he dies in front of that monument, but also sees one where he somehow finds the air that he needs to keep himself going, and somehow plucks or chooses that one, folding that quantum moment in on top of all possible realities. And as he does this, he flashes to a pillar and a cathedral, and pillars and things webbed and winged beyond and above him as he stands on hoses and cords beneath him again and sees that altar, that bassinet in front of him as he moves toward it again. And in this time, he doesn't see a shell or a broken egg or a tiny egg. He sees that egg intact, larger than a melon even, as the embryonic god of dreams, a single thing, not a people or species, hooked to hose and cable.
Yeah. It's also like the hook to hose and cable, the machinery of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, I don't want to glance over the part. Like, I want to focus on the fact that we get full confirmation of how this works later. But as of right now, the Hadrian that collapsed did die, and then he chose a reality where one didn't, and then he switched with it. So this is a new Hadrian again. This is at least our third Hadrian, maybe our fourth, depending on how the Amesh thing went down. And that's just interesting, you know, like this is like, oh, Hadrian saw how he could get up, and so he did. No, Hadrian saw the one that did get up and went, that's me now. Yoink.
Snapped over.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are dealing with a new Hadrian now. This Hadrian is different than the Hadrian we were dealing with at the beginning of this chapter. The Hadrian that disappears for 40 days and the Hadrian that comes back are two different Hadrians, which is not the case last time as far as we know, in my opinion. But also like the hoses and the machinery of what these ruins are and how moving through time and back is based off of a device that is created with components and hoses. I can't shake the connection to the Americanii and how they know things that connect to this. Like, is this creature and the Americanii in some way connected or tied in a way beyond what we understand? I don't know. I have no theory or answer or really quantifiable question. Just that this is the most
it's fucking bizarre
mechanic we have seen the Quiet yet, and so like it definitely begs a question in regards to the only other creatures of mechanical nature that have existed up to this point within our knowledge of the story and lore, which are the Americanii, which also have messages from these creatures through time, intrinsically tied in some strange way. I don't know where to go with that. It's just it is imagery that exists that concerns me.
Yeah, I think you put it well when you said it is, and you could have ended
it is.
But
yeah, no, but for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, mostly it must be.
It must be, and as such, when we're seeing it, it is,
and maybe? Will be, and has been before. But once it is,
Correct. Yes. I love also the like just the line larger than a million as the embryonic god of dreams, like this idea of like this sort of like prophetic thing that we're seeing here. And again, we get this in just a moment here, but this like cuttlefish between realities of these other like deeper, darker forces, like between galaxies and solar systems. And then there's this thing, and it is a similar but god of
Yeah.
dreams, as it's
I
compared.
mean, not to bring up another English
Fascinating.
fantasy author that who shouldn't be named, but is this just Neil Gaiman's dream inside of an egg waiting to be born into the world? Like,
I think that that's not a bad comparison, frankly. And again, like call him out, call him as he is. But
at
like
least he's a good writer compared to the
at
other one who shall
this
be named. But
true, 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 true,
I
true,
was a
true, true,
Harry
true, good
Potter
stuff.
hater way
Um,
before there was a reason to, so it's just fun for me to talk shit
yeah,
now.
yeah. And unfortunately, I lost my favorite author to a fire of him being a shitty person.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or one of them, not my favorite.
Are we talking
Thankfully,
about
Clive
Gaiman
Barker
in
is
that?
mostly clean.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Gaiman
yeah.
actually hurts. That's like a legitimately great author making really cool stuff. But
Legitimate sting. Yeah, and I don't want to talk about it.
it's like the difference
We're
between
gonna leave
Jared
that hand
Leto and
grenade
Jesse
there.
Lacey. Like, oh, that one's a piece of shit. That makes sense. I kind of like those songs. Whatever. Oh, that one's a piece of shit. I
Yeah,
still do need to listen to this album for my own
yeah.
mental health.
Unfortunately, my entire life is like my
I,
yeah,
I,
right.
I
My
can't
life,
actually give up
my
Devil and
emotional well
God.
being. Yeah, yeah. No, I can't give up science
Yeah,
fiction,
you want?
man. Science
Oh
fiction
my
is
God,
actually
yeah. I
anyway.
can't
I don't
even
need to
give
get
up
into it.
Daisy.
Yeah.
I got rid of
hmm
favorite weapon just because it was the one I could. It's like I guess you could have that one.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Except for I like Jude Law's Special
Yeah, of
Abroad and
course,
Doom
there's
Seven
good
Seven
stuff
Seven.
on there, but I
Anyway,
have to give up one for the
I
cause.
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Right. Okay. So you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. I understand. Um.
Gaiman and Lacey are similar in the feeling of what you lost.
Yes. All I was trying to get here to some degree to say was like at this point Diamond hadn't been revealed to be a terrible dude, and so that call
Yes.
out and maybe like I don't want to say I don't think that Rockio he's not really a comic book guy to my understanding. He's more anime manga, um, which means probably adjacent and maybe a little bit of Dream and Gaiman, but
Yeah, I don't know if this is a
I've
direct
never
reference,
heard
but
him
it
talk about
definitely made
Gaiman,
me think of
frankly.
it. Yeah.
But it is so similar. It is starkly similar.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
Hey,
thought about that comparison
dream
quite some
in an
ways.
egg,
Yeah.
waiting, connected to hoses. It's not really an egg, it's more of a
It's
sphere, but
yeah, right. True. So yeah, I mean, like, what a combination of crazy moments. We're in this like crazy cathedral at the end of time with all these, well, not at the end of time, but at some point in time, uh, these hoses, these eldritch creatures above, like in pillar statue form, and then this fucking bassinet again.
yeah.
This fucking bassinet
The
again.
bassinet, like, I'm sure it will make sense at some point or be revealed to have a deeper meaning, but as of right now, it feels so much like Lost to me, where they'll just like
Sure.
put something weird
Yeah.
in there and figure it out later. This It
Yeah.
feels like they would have gone and found a cabin in Lost with just a bassinet with an egg in it and been like, what do we do? And then we never would have really come back to figure that out. But
Right.
I do trust Rockio more than that at this point, based on the reveals and understandings that are there.
Definitely.
But it feels weird to have an old
You know,
school bassinet just representing all of this.
I don't think you're aware of this, and this is maybe a fun thing to just sprinkle in at this point as just like a bonus note. But the writers of Lost were, and this being J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof and a
Of
couple of the
course.
other writers, were predominantly inspired by the Dark Tower, and we're gonna move on from that.
Incredible.
As an
Well,
element,
I love Lost, so I'm a Lost
well,
defender.
bye, bye.
I don't say it's perfect.
Well, so as an element of this, though, he's whisked away and sees all the all other silver threads leading back to that cathedral, but finds the shortest one leads to him exploding that sun, killing the Cielson and all. And as such, Hadrian states that the Cielson worship him, meaning the Quiet. To which the Quiet replies, "No." And provides for him an intense vision of the possibilities of this universe as it could have unfolded, but also over another other alien skies. Why the fuck did I write that sentence that way? But also over another under other alien skies. That is one of the most complex
My nose is
statements that
bleeding
I've
just
ever written.
listening to
Okay.
you say that.
But also over another under other alien skies. All varieties of people, civilizations where humans would never go, until he says, I beheld darker things, older things, greater ones, beings vast and incomprehensible as the mountains moved beneath the outer suns, their antique wills slow and slouching as they bent their power on the stars. I saw hideous peoples on their knees in worship, and I knew it was not the quiet the Cielson praised.
Yeah, so I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the snake creature made of bones that they're always fucking building statues to is a representation of a different extra dimensional quotation marks lowercase god being that exists that they have been perceived by to some degree, or that they have perceived, that they then make offerings to, that Hadrian has assumed is the quiet, but is a different entity of the same sort as the quiet, but separate and unique in its own way. It's another one of one.
Yeah, I believe that is the implication.
But that one was
here,
then, and the
that we're
quiet is
experiencing.
then. But their then and their
Right.
then could be different thens to where technically they could amalgamate towards the middle in some way. But we don't really know.
And our difference here that like we get from our perspective is that the quiet, and this is something that comes up in sort of the next comment that I have here. There's the quiet, so far as we're aware, which is a named being, and there is a grouping of others called the Watchers.
Yes.
And there's nothing to say that the quiet isn't a Watcher of its own quality, caliber, etc.
Is this in the Marvel universe? Are these just the Watchers? Is this
No, they're not the Watchers. This is the Watcher is just one guy too, as well. The Eternals would be a different
yeah.
thing, but yeah, Celestials even.
Possibly the
But yeah,
Titans.
to that point, like, yeah, fair enough.
Perhaps even the gods.
I perhaps
Maybe the entities.
Eye is huge. Man, the description here, you mentioned like the bones crawling through in that part of it, but this other side, their horrid shapes moved about the fingers of my vision, dark against dark. I caught only glimpses, eyes huge and faceted like as gems, wings malformed and tiny, and pale limbs and claws yellow and cracked with age. Try as I did to look upon their faces, my mind rebelled, recoiled, and would go no further.
It describes classic devils, like little imps, like demons almost to a degree. Tiny little wings, massive eyes, cracked yellow talons and claws. Like it.
And those are the worshippers of those things. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
In some cases. Again, I sense these things were larger still and swam between the stars like cuttlefish. They knew us not, so small were we, and so small the affairs of a single galaxy to them. But their servants had noticed us, which is the Cielson.
Yeah. So did the Cielson begin as these weird little cracked devil imps and then developed into whatever they are now?
That's a great question.
Yeah. If only someone here knew the answer. Guess we'll never know.
It'd be crazy if one of us knew the answer and the other one didn't. Do you want to rock, paper, scissors for who knows the answer?
Okay. Yep. Here we go.
Yep. All right. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Oh, you got me. Does that mean you know the answer?
So what's going on here is what we're actually seeing is the dodo bird. Hadrian looked back through time and realized that the dodo bird was actually the wisest of the birds with their large eyes and little wings and their cracked little yellow talons. And they perceived through time, due to their high levels of intelligence and their vision that no other bird had, to see the existence of these beings beyond them indifferent and the impending doom of the world from the meat eaters. And so they decided to cast themselves off in worship of these beings as sacrifices themselves. And so the dodo birds all declined in death by self-sacrifice, and that's why the dodo went extinct, is specifically to elevate themselves to the stars in worship of these beings that only they could perceive.
It's so interesting if we consider the fact that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy universe existed at the same time. And so the dolphins fly into the sky to the moon, and the dodos jump off the fucking cliff because they. So the dolphins are like, we are so much smarter than the and the dodo birds see the
And then,
devil and
like,
believe
not going up the...
God is not real. Yeah, like we're dead. Yeah.
Incredible.
The devil is real, and I have no idea if God is.
The dolphins flew to the stars. The dodo birds called it.
Yeah. Just like fuck that shit.
The dodo
Yeah.
birds killed themselves and sacrificed to the devil they knew.
Exactly.
And the dolphins flew to the stars in search of the god they didn't.
And precisely, man. No more perfect line has ever been uttered on this podcast.
Dodos
With
cast
that,
themselves
good night.
down and sacrificed to the devil they knew as the dolphins flew to the stars in search of a god they didn't is pretty fucking...
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good, dude. That's pretty
All right.
good.
Scrap whatever
We're not mad
fantasy
about it.
novel I've been writing.
It's time to write some Terry
Yeah.
Pratchett bullshit in the best way. It'd be like writing First Law Terry Pratchett.
First Law
you know
Terry
what I mean? Like,
Pratchett would be
that's what that
so
sounds
good.
like. Yeah.
Dude, Shadow Wizard Dolphin Gang, you know?
Suicide Dodo cult. You know what I mean?
Right there. I'm ready. I'm ready for dolphins who cast off into the stars and create an empire based on a religion reviewing old Earth before it was destroyed.
And meanwhile, other birds worship
The dodos as
and,
the
like,
ones
come up
who-
on the underside
yeah.
of it's the ones who saw the future.
And yet, whenever you do die, you actually meet the dodos that existed in the past and cast themselves forward.
Yeah, the dodos saw a devil and the devil stared back. You know what I mean? Like they.
Yeah.
That's
That's a
pretty good.
dodo egg. That's a dodo
so-
egg of the best.
Yeah, oh, it definitely is. So fuck the Muppets. We're going total Animal Kingdom
For
on this.
sure.
It's Lion King rules.
It's going to be
Yeah.
animated in that really realistic but also uncanny valley upsetting way that movie Dinosaur was.
Oh no. Oh shit. That's even
Do you remember
worse.
Dinosaur? The lemurs?
I do remember
I
Dinosaur.
fucking love
watched
that
it as
movie.
it
I
was
watched
coming
that
out.
constantly
Yeah.
whenever I was a kid.
I did too. I enjoyed it quite a bit because like any more dinosaur content I could
Also,
get,
of all the kids' movies I
Yeah.
was allowed to watch, that one was really like violent and dark and also weirdly sexual. Those lemurs were fucking in that tree.
They did be. They did
Yeah.
be. See, my dad was just like, you can watch Alien whenever you want. I was like, oh.
Oh, my parents were
God.
like, you can watch
And the Terminator and the
VeggieTale
Mummies.
or you can watch Jurassic Park, but the lemurs fuck. And I was like, let's watch that.
Yeah, see, I had VeggieTales or, the other stuff that I mentioned, and sometimes I chose VeggieTales.
Oh,
which
we
is
all
messed up,
chose
and I'm so
VeggieTales
sorry for you.
sometimes. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Yeah.
Yep.
So Hadrian.
I could also choose
from
between
there
Schoolhouse
chooses-
Rock or Dumb and Dumber, and sometimes I chose Schoolhouse Rock.
and that's a good choice to have. Hadrian does press the quiet as to what these monsters are, and it gives vague answers. They're not a kind that came before, and all this in the hopes that he'll understand before he shows him two possible paths at the end of time, potentially. The Watchers coming to dominance across every corner of time, or another where a new universe might be born. Kingdom had another life as well, and that the Sjelsen were only one battle in this larger war, as this fight was just some pit stop in the larger war of light against darkness.
I feel like the quiet are just our new Baez. I can never get away from this shit. This is some Khalul and Baez bullshit. I'm still stuck in the middle. I'm still just a nine-fingered rogue fucking rage monster who has no way to actually alter the outcomes of any sort of thing. I don't know what's going on.
From there, I kind of love this general scene from the idea of like, we see this as like a larger than Hadrian thing. Finally, we get scope here,
Yes.
right? And I think that to your point of like, and the conversation that we've been having, frankly, this is where the scope expands to fantasy to
Yes,
some
yeah.
degree. Like, this is no longer these like empires and the aliens fighting against this. Like, as
Well, it
simple as
expands
is,
and it
calling it
narrows.
as light against
Yeah.
darkness. Yeah. Expands and narrows.
Yeah, it pulls out so far that then you can see the shape of the story.
Yeah.
In a way that is much more fantasy, much more of a narrow light versus darkness, good versus evil. in a way that I think fantasy does really well in modern fantasy a lot of the time as well, which is, but is it? But at least we can see kind of our dueling fates, if you will, here.
Yeah, I mean, especially a good call out considering the Anakin of it all. Yeah.
All right. Real quick before YouTube
Qui-Gon
takes
falls
us
into
down,
two pieces.
I'm tone deaf enough.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll catch it.
Nah, that's fine. We're good. But yeah, I really appreciate that comparison because I do think also you say dual of fates, you say the simplification, and you kind of call that out, but also, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where we're at right now. Like this is, to put it into like almost Tolkien-esque terms, like this. While there's so much gray that lives on the periphery of the story, and there is obviously we understand the end of this. Hadrian blows up the sun, which is also a fun meta fact of the fact that the story deals with time in such a way. Like, in addition, we know the end of the story, but we know that he can also fuck with time. So what
So
the
what
fuck?
is the end of the story? Because it might not
Or
even be that one.
timelines.
Yeah.
So what is the end of the story? To some degree. But if we understand that this is good versus evil, we can. It's pretty tough to not read Hadrian's decision as evil, right? Like
Yeah.
light, darkness, like.
And then
That's
to
a pretty fucking evil
destroy a
choice.
source of light and billions with it.
Mhm.
But also, like, at this
Yeah.
fucking point, I don't even know. I mean, I'm looking at the covers right now, and I'm pretty sure Shadows Upon Time is going to be when he blows up a sun. But at this fucking point, he could do it in Disquiet Gods, and then the rest of the story could be taking place present day, third person. I don't know. Rockio has set himself up to be very unpredictable, and I definitely enjoy that. He's predictable in ways that I wouldn't expect him to be. Like, reveals come, and I'm like, yeah, I think I generally got that already. But it feels like it would normally be a huge reveal, and then he's unpredictable in ways where I'm like, I don't even know where the fuck the story's going in a positive way. What the fuck was that? Like,
right,
okay, well, if we did that, then what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So I do think he plays with expectation really well, and this section is one that highlights that, and he plays with it in a way that is both exciting and confusing and titillating and frustrating and annoying and impressive and yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's good. So, to that end, he then sees his father, commands him to get up, and in agony he does. And we come to understand how this Hadrian came to be. He was one of the potential on that demiurge, one of many, and among many possibilities, the Hadrian had been traded, which is how he came back to life as a man still living, an identical man who had just lost the other arm. He laughs and realizes that Lorien is right. He is not the same man. It is a more complicated question than the one that Lorien asked, but Lorien was more correct than he could have believed.
I mean, Lorien thought maybe he was a replacement in a different way, but
yeah,
it's. Have you ever?
But he is a clone.
I mean, yeah. Have you ever been in a math class
and
you do all the work wrong, but you get the right answer, and the teacher doesn't know how to grade it because they're like, "You got." That's not how you were supposed to get there.
This is in Spanish. This is in Russian, and I don't speak Russian.
And yet, the answer is 12.
Yeah, right. This is a math question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of one of those situations where somehow we still did get there.
Definitely.
This Hadrian is a clone replaced by an entity with intentions that go beyond their own goals for their own reasons, which is exactly what like Aristides thought. Just it's not Karn,
right,
and it's not a synthetic clone.
Instead,
it's
a godly force in some ways.
God, and it is a universal clone. Yeah.
So Hadrian presses back into the monument, demanding to be shown more, and seems to access a power that he didn't know he had before he sees that black dome again, and the host, and a moon-shaped world ship blotting out the sun, all to the chants of the Cielsen, again, Yayato, with Dariaika leading Hadrian on a chain, haggard, as they call out Actorumu, as the vessel eclipses the sun. Polino cries out, Octavia's hair is floating among the spears, and Hadrian unable to do anything as the universe turns to screams.
Yeah.
In a vision, you know.
Um. hmm hmm This part's interesting because we've gotten this vision to a degree in different ways so many times, but it's the most kind of maybe
Right.
direct moment of this, and
Coalesce.
coalesce the most like clear this vision has been, the most direct this line of sight is. A light just turned on. Very good. Yeah.
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 Definitely. Hadrian, in that moment, demands to leave, and the Quiet does not wish for him to go, as it has more to show and believes that it will not be able to reach him again otherwise, as his time will also go out of their sight, potentially. The voice of the Emperor comes out of his father's visage, and the Quiet asks, "Do you swear to see to its end any course begun?" And Hadrian says, "I will." And it frees him, and it clicks for Hadrian that these symbols are more than a part of a machine, are more of a part of a machine and less a language, as they bridge time across realities and possibilities and potentialities.
Yeah, he's looking at like components within a machine. He's looking at essentially like beyond our comprehension microchips, and they're trying to figure out what letters they are. Like it's so beyond the comprehension of. It's like somebody finding the inside of a computer and then assuming that that is the language of a tiny species, and the person that found it is like from ancient Greece. It's like,
Right.
yeah, it's like
incomprehensible.
It's like Homer trying to translate a microchip.
Yeah.
And he's like, there has to be. It's patterns. It has to be a language. That's man, yeah. But it is.
That's actually a great comparison. I had never thought of it in such technical terms, because I've always just abstracted it to just be more fantastical, like thinking about it like it's like hieroglyphics that make up some sort of like code that is magic, like a spell or something. It's a spell that we don't understand, and so as such it is. But to instead codify it as something that's more calculated, something that's more like a microchip, or like you're saying, like a microprocessor board that like he just doesn't understand. Also, like Hadrian is smart, but also dumb. So
but Valka is smart and also thinks it's a language because it exists on a different plane of thinking. Like there's no way to comprehend what that is. There's no way for Homer to comprehend like the idea of a circuit board that's designed to like transmit radio waves.
Right. Definitely.
But maybe if you took him and you showed him all to him, he still wouldn't comprehend, but he'd understand to a degree. And that's kind of what we get with Hadrian here. Is like, look, you can actually use the phone to talk to someone on the other side of the world. But technically, what you say to them will arrive instantaneous, but also later. And what they say back will arrive back instantaneous, but also later. And it's like,
yesterday.
Oh, yeah. And whenever you talk to them, they're 12 hours in the future, but they're also in the present. Like,
mind.
Yeah, like that would be insane to understand as an ancient person. And not to say that society will ever advance to the point within this world of being able to comprehend the quiet. Like it is that kind of like shown within the frame that he can understand the idea of a telephone call if he was Homer,
Right. He's got enough framework at the very least to process that, if that's what it was. Yeah. That said, he returns to the world of the living and stumbles his way back to camp at this point. And we begin the next chapter quickly here, but I mean, anything else? I mean, I feel like I couldn't imagine more meticulously covering a chapter.
There is more I could say, but also,
there's also so much more.
No, let's carry on. This is an insane chapter. I'm trying to be not too long-winded on it, but like,
we did spend a full hour on it, which is
but
like
in our defense,
it deserves.
There were 10 minutes in there that will probably be cut into the Devil's Cut, where we talked about a different book series, and then there was also some Muppets discussion. But
importantly, the Muppets were valid.
The Muppets were valid, and the Muppets are valid, and the Muppets remain valid.
Are valid. continue to
Hadrian
balance.
is the most fucking theatrical bitch. He has the opportunity to put his helmet back on as he wanders through the vacuum of
And he doesn't.
space.
Mhm.
And he doesn't. He's like, I want them to see.
Yeah. I want to prove my point. With that, we go into Whispers, our final chapter of the week. Hadrian walks with his bare face, as you mentioned, very dramatically back to the camp.
It's weird that the
holds himself
Hadrian that
together
he
through-
is now, since he pulled the one from the other world, has a bare face, but
Very true. Very strange that he's got that full snout. on
yeah,
him.
just the
A little
full
bit
grizzly
hairy.
face,
Yeah.
just grizzly Hadrian, just cocaine bear Hadrian
There's-
is just drifting through
I mean,
space bear. You know, he's just a space bear.
Yeah. I mean, we've been making Tolkien commentary, and you'd think that we were thinking of The Lord of the Rings, but in reality, we were talking about The Hobbit. This is Bjorn.
Oh yeah.
Hadrian is Bjorn.
Also,
Yeah, the
space bear, I
transforming,
think,
shape-shifting bear
is
man.
what like a nickname for tardigrades. So I just imagine Hadrian is back as a tardigrade.
Now it's even more different. I had
Now
other
it's a
imaginations,
weird
and
fleshy snoot. Microscopic
Yeah,
flesh Hadrian with 6 legs and in an elephant trunk drifts back.
Yeah, so infinite Hadrians appear, and none of them look like
Okay,
that.
cool.
One of them looks like a bear. Just kidding. But he's holding himself together through infinite possibilities where he could have died from a lack of air as a second sight is fully set in. I want to note here, we were talking about the different deaths that like Hadrian has experienced at different times. Is he not potentially experiencing infinite deaths and just choosing moments in which he lives?
That's kind of what it
moment here?
feels like. Here.
Yeah. So he
But
could have experienced so many deaths.
Yeah, it's so hard to say. This could be like our millionth Hadrian by the time he reaches the place. But
Right.
also, like,
He's plucking them out before he dies, importantly. Like, he's not dying because he's intervening before death happens
yeah,
or occurs.
but there's a
But-
lot of Hadrians cycling through to make one that gets all the way there just to be dramatic. You know what he's doing?
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie The Prestige?
Yes, it's one
Okay,
of my favorite.
It is one of my favorite movies of all time. He's just Hugh Jackmaning.
Spoilers. Hang
Spoilers
on. Spoilers
for The
For
Prestige.
people that don't know The Prestige, please, dear God.
If you
go
have
watch
not
it.
seen
Okay.
The Prestige, I beg you to turn this off right now and just go watch The Prestige. It is the whenever people ask me my favorite movie, it is always hard to choose, and I rarely say The Prestige, but it is the first movie that pops into my head almost every time.
It is my second most favorite Nolan movie, behind Memento.
It is my favorite Nolan movie, though Memento's close.
You can understand why I love Memento, considering the story that we're reading.
You're gonna
right
love
now,
The
but,
Odyssey.
you know, well, I'm very excited. Don't get me wrong. I've heard its closest comparison is Memento.
Yes,
and
the
so
only
I'm like,
reason I
well,
could imagine you not
got
liking The
me.
Odyssey is just
Yeah.
because you're aware of mythology and maybe you'll have issues with adaptation or
Nah.
change. But
Nah, dude, I'm not sacred about that. We know that I like A Wheel of Time and The Rings of Power.
look,
show,
and you
as
know
mentioned
what? At the
previously.
end of the
Yeah.
day, Homer's The Odyssey isn't even necessarily the original story. So you know what? I mean, it is,
Who the
but
fuck knows?
or whatever. It's
Yeah.
this shit's 1,000 years BC. You know, who's to say?
Mhm.
Don't get weird about it. Anyways, all that said,
That
oh yeah, continue. Go for it.
That said, his 3 attendees show
Yeah.
up, right? And this is where like maybe a little bit of transfiguration shit you could call out, but like Krim, Polino, Volca descend on him very quickly from the ship, but he still has his hood up. He then sucks it over to like save himself as they hug and they have a brief conversation. Except for he realizes that he's forgot his gloves this whole time and that his capillaries have exploded.
Yeah,
in his
he
hands.
kept himself alive, but his hands look like mincemeat. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yikes.
it's fine. We got science.
Back in Medica, he awakes.
I assume one hand is better
Yeah,
than the other because one hand is probably having bone decay. The other one is just like the flesh is
Right.
melting off of his robot hand.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that hand's used to it. For this
Yeah.
one. Like scars, whatever. No big deal.
High matter.
Back in
space.
Medica, he wakes.
Back at Medica.
Right. It's the vacuum of space cannot be.
Anyways,
worse.
back at Medica,
In
he
pain from the
awakes
whole
in pain
experience.
from the whole
Yeah.
experience and tries to come to terms with the
And
experience.
tries.
He doesn't really have a choice but to kill the billions or else to let see all of his friends and people he cares for die.
Well, welcome to what I do with my own notes, by the way, which is like I mostly write.
You're
the
like,
sentence,
that's
and I'm like,
probably a sentence, and I
to
don't
do
have
too
time
much
to look
work.
back.
No, it's
for
fine.
sure, I get you.
Or else
It
like,
reads
see
a
all
lot
his
like
friends
my
and
D&D
family,
notes
people
whenever
he
I
cares for
DM.
die. Yeah, right. That is actually the best comparison I've ever heard, and that is totally what I'm writing. It's not a
It's
perfect
there, and I'm gonna
sentence.
improv
It's the
off of it.
idea. It's the thought.
And
Yeah,
whenever it
right.
goes way off the rails, he'll just be like, and Hadrian finds himself back in Medica.
Yeah, exactly. But to that point, people he cares for die as well. Valka confronts him about needing the quiet and how he's been gone for 40 days. Again, you mentioned earlier, his suit says that he's been missing for 3. We've talked about both of those numbers being important, and he can't really properly account for that by any measure. They review the details from the last chapter. From there, all of those things, and she provides her insight on needing to go to Berenice at once to prevent what Hadrian saw, the horrific Black Dome incidents at the end of time. They also note that nothing was recorded, almost like it cannot exist while observed.
It's almost like you could say that
From his
Hadrian
suit.
was entombed within the mountain for 3 days, where he went to
Or was he fucking
Hades
lying?
and then saw hell, and then like came back by rolling away the giant black stone. It's a little religious. It's fine.
It's a little religious for sure, but like also he's got no recording
Yeah,
of
he
it.
could just be like, "Oh, actually, I was gone for 3 days because I'm Jesus." Hadrian was just like, he found like a cool storeroom with a bunch of like good food, and he's just like jacking off for 40 days. Just finally alone with his thoughts, and watched a bunch of his mom's plays because he's weird. You know?
The quiet is actually just a 7-Eleven employee giving him Funyuns
Hadrian's been getting like really high with one of his high school best
from
friends
the
somewhere.
future past. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just been like, "Man, what if we're not even? Sometimes I feel like I'm just stuck where I am, man." It's like, maybe you're not stuck, man. Maybe it's just like your past, which was more interesting, is actually your future. Wow, dude, I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah, dude. It's not that you're stuck. It's just that the most interesting things that have happened to you, they haven't happened yet. But I feel like it was interesting. Yeah, man. And that's what you're headed towards. Is what you were.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
You
dude.
gonna eat those? And then
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh shit, dude, we're out. All right, well, I gotta go find my girlfriend. Hey, if anyone asks, I was here for like 3 days. Cool.
I
Oh, let
should
me change your suit.
I
Let me
shouldn't
change
have
your suit,
questioned your
dog."
Californian. Yeah, I shouldn't have questioned your Californian accent.
Oh,
Um, you don't have one, but you pulled it out and it was really good. So there we go.
I do live here my whole life.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. Um, yeah, I mean it's a very a very odd thing to bring up, and this is also where again can't help but question the nature of Hadrian writing the story to begin with. Like, are you writing this as its truth? Are you realizing the sort of fervor and inspiration you're causing as a result of your actions and you're feeding into it somehow? Like, what the fuck is this?
Hadrian
Impossible
got
to say
sent as a punishment to become a
to us,
scholiast,
the
not
readers.
to join the chantry. And then whenever he got there, he was just such a bitch because he kind of is, and he was bad with authority.
Yeah.
So they locked him away in his little room. They're like, "You can come out whenever you're ready to be a good little pupil." He's like, "No." So he's just been writing a fantasy story in his room this whole time. He's like, "Actually, I wanted to be a scholiast, but my daddy wanted me to go to the chantry." And but
It's
the whole
thing.
thing is just made up by Hadrian because he refuses to go back out and learn stoicism. Yeah.
Definitely. Apatheia and all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So, walking with a cane, Hadrian addresses his officers and tells them the truth about the quiet, the honest truth, as so far as we know, and his disappearance. And while the path seems obvious as they're following Legion orders to go to Berenice, the important detail is that he knows more about the when and the consequences of losing,
Yeah.
of the combat, the fight that's to happen, and everything therein. This leads into a really interesting part of the chapter, I think the more fascinating part of the chapter, which is that Bastian Durand questions Hadrian and sort of his decisions and actions, and so Hadrian turns to him and requests his sidearm from him. Bastian follows orders as he places the gun to his chest and helps the man's hand squeeze the trigger and fires a blast through him into the back of the hollow board behind him, this rail slug. We get an excellent description of the gun, by the
Oh,
way, which I really
yeah.
appreciate. Not gonna read that here, but
I would
so
love to
good.
just touch on it too. The idea that this is a gun that
Yeah,
you wouldn't have on like a spacefaring vessel because it's too dangerous.
illegal.
This
Yeah,
is the
for other
one
reasons.
time
Yeah.
this guy's willing to break the rules is to have the gun that comforts him more and makes him feel like a bigger man. Like this is such
Mhm.
a classic like I follow the law, but then also like I have my big gun on the ship because it makes me feel powerful. Fucker. Like I feel like
Mhm.
it tells me a lot about who Bastien Durand is in this moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So he presses it to his chest. He fires, but as he does, picks one of those infinite possibilities where he wasn't shot, pulls his consciousness
Like
into
as
that
the bullet is
as
ripping
though
through
nothing
him, he
happened,
does that.
unharmed. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Volka screams, everyone freaks out, people jump to his aid, and he's just standing there like nothing fucking
But
happened.
behind him, the hollow display is completely shattered, destroyed, shot through by this
Mhm.
massive fucking round. Clearly went through him.
Mhm.
Everybody saw him get shredded, and he stands there fine.
Mhm.
Wild, such a cool
Yep.
moment. This is like the if the end of Howling Dark was like the beginnings of the Half Mortal legend, this is the birth of the true Half Mortal. Like this is the moment where it is not a select few have seen some footage. The whole deck saw that. Everybody's seen that. You know, like this is there's
Yes.
no stopping the wave of like what that causes, you know, which was very intentional. He wants it now. Like I feel like he's embracing this prophetic side to him, this legend that is the half mortal to more of a degree. But
Yeah.
also he can
Yeah. And
pick out alternate versions of himself to survive indefinitely in the vacuum of space. So yeah, I would go a little to my head too and be like, people need to know I'm him. Um, so I get it.
yeah, I mean, you've hit on sort of the end of the week here for sure, which is that like excellent note on Half Mortal as everyone begins to murmur and kind of talk about it. But also, he sees this one at the end of all this, and he's like, "Hang on, I've saw the Emperor die. Does that mean that I'm the one? Like, is that how I get on the throne?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how that all happens? What the fuck is my potential in my future?" As he can't really know exactly what that is. I have a quote that I want to hop back
Mm-hmm.
to, but to round out the chapter, we'll start at the end of the chapter and we'll jump back to the
Yeah.
quote
Uh,
to end it. Yeah. Anything on sort of that? Anything else on the end of the like the half mortal
I
sort
mean,
of note on things and
goddamn,
the
like
imperial throne future?
there it's very interesting that there's a version of himself where I could be I don't know, on both times I'm pretty sure I caught that he fashions his crown with that eggshell like inlaid within it, which I think is
Mhm.
just like such an interesting
Yeah.
future.
I think he's still wearing it as a
I'm pretty
necklace. It's
sure
something important. It's something.
I'm gonna
I'll
double
double check.
okay.
I'm got it
Yeah.
right here. I'm right there. But
Because he mentions like the very one that is currently on my neck, but he says it's there in his crown.
white, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where I sat upon the solar throne with a white stone upon my brow, the very eggshell shard I wore by my neck, even then. So that's where I got it
Yes, of
confused. He
course, yeah.
says
But
it's
it's
that
upon
it's
his
that eggshell
like
that he has around
I
his
think
neck,
that's so
but
sick to
it's
put the
in his
eggshell
yeah
in his crown.
yeah.
Um
Hmm.
but yeah, this idea of like perhaps that version of destroying the sun is where he becomes emperor. We also have insights here to the future that Hadrian, who sees the future, doesn't have because we're being told about all of this from an Hadrian even farther than that future he's viewing. So it doesn't seem like Hadrian ends up on the throne. Or maybe he does, but
Tough to
not
say.
after that. He gets tried for his crimes at some point and then sent to live in a library. There's a lot of unanswered shit in the middle that the visions aren't telling us because the visions are only giving us what he needs to do for their own purpose, which
Right.
is destroy the CLC. So what happens after that, I feel like, is
Yeah.
whenever the quiet probably just abandons him entirely. But
Hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Tough to say. So many potential futures. So much doubt. However, before we
yeah, let's hear
end
that
on
quote.
those excellent notes, I really love this quote. Consciousness, I think, is a mechanism we humans have evolved for sorting the threads of time. We do it blindly, and that is enough for most of us most of the time. I'm no different, save that I've learned to listen, to see.
Yeah, real good
I
quote.
mean, it's a It's a real good quote. But the idea of like consciousness being the thing that like puts us as a third dimension
Yeah.
creature, you know, versus like a 2D,
Yeah, no,
at some
definitely.
degree is
Like
like an interesting concept versus 4D.
consciousness is our own development that puts us as a being beyond those that don't have that to the same degree. I think also like self-awareness or like sentience, I guess you could say, elevates us. So it kind of does also harken back to an express like, okay, these creatures exist at the same level of jump of perception from consciousness and sentience comparatively to creatures that don't have that same consciousness and sentience and can't comprehend what those are or what we see through them or what we comprehend and understand. And then you jump that much farther to the next level of being. Are there beings that the quiet can comprehend or that can like see but not comprehend even beyond the quiet? Like we don't know how many levels up does this
Yeah.
go because that would be so far behind, so far beyond human understanding. But are there creatures even elevated above and beyond these creatures that are the watchers or the quiet or these infinite universe creators? Is there an existence outside of the universe and known reality that we have that then looks in on them from behind their stage? I don't know, but
It's a fun thing to
yeah,
contemplate. I want to layer in a thought that I just had for the first time, and I think one that's interesting. If we consider exactly what you're saying, like this consciousness is this layer of like understanding the stage and other things like that. In like third dimensional, meaning like time is a forward
yeah.
line, not fourth dimensional, like time is static.
But like I can see behind the
Consciousness
stage of
then,
how Chetney operates, my dog.
yeah,
Yeah,
entirely right. I'm thinking if a fourth dimensional being, if three dimensional beings or third dimension beings see or are conscious, and consciousness is the thing that drives them for sorting through time. I think for fourth dimensional beings, it would be consequences,
oh,
right?
interesting.
The
Yeah,
consequence of action, the consequence of time, the consequence of any decision is immediately manifest across all versions of time, right? So if consciousness is a 3D being's like experience, consequence would be 4D,
interesting. No,
right?
I totally see what you're saying because it's like it goes you assume consciousness within it, but now it's consciousness with the
Mm-hmm.
full understanding of
Understanding,
consequence
yeah,
in every
right.
direction.
The impact, yeah, of
So
anything that
now you
happens.
have to become less of an active participant and more of a watcher in a lot of ways,
Observer,
where
yeah.
your comprehension goes beyond consciousness into consequence. The alliteration goes crazy here.
Josh, I am saying that as just like coming to terms with this right now as a part of the conversation, and also like general understanding of physics and time. This is not something from the series.
Yeah.
This is Crossland being like, oh, if I think about time this way, consequence is the thing. This is not something from the books. This is not something later. I'm not hinting. This is me connecting a dot in a
No, but
different
I
way.
love it.
So,
It's
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
wild way to think about extra dimensional beings because inherently the idea of something that exists beyond our understanding, unfortunately, is beyond our understanding. So we can't comprehend it. And
right.
to write a story so heavily involving that is really difficult to do. And I'm loving how Rockio's doing it because he's not watering down a being beyond our understanding so that we, the reader, can understand it, which defeats the purpose, but he is allowing us to see it through the lens of someone who gets the closest to comprehending it by being shown the
It
consequences. Yeah.
is so far as I've read, and I've read so many fantasy series and a decent number of science fiction series, this is the best approximation of an understanding of a god that I've seen on the
Yeah.
page. And I mean that like not like capital G singular monotheistic god. I just meant like Zeus even as a
Yeah.
realization, or like Odin as a realization. This is a very different conceit,
Well, and I'll say
or like
this
thinking about D&D.
whatever the version
Yeah.
of something that isn't a capital letter but is like not a lowercase letter, it's somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle. Because like whenever you're dealing with
Yeah.
lowercase gods, Zeus or something in a pantheon, they are really just creations of immense power, but they're
Characters. Yeah.
still Zeus is still born of the Titans, and there's still like this idea that like these are creatures that exist within our reality, somewhat within our understanding, just beyond our
Yeah.
ability.
This is
This
eldritch
is
to your point
eldritch. This goes
earlier,
beyond our
right?
comprehension. This
Yeah.
exists in a space and perception beyond what we can comprehend. And I really
Yeah.
do love that approach to godhood in a story. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is some biblically accurate
that's
angels
good.
over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. All right. Well, with that, next week, Between the Hammer and Anvil through Upon the Ramparts, another similarly length section. And I'm going to be real with you, the rest of the book is similarly length sections. We're about 4 to 5 chapters, again, to give us some nice time to enjoy the end of our little
Yeah.
book here.
A
We've got
little.
3 weeks left from here. Well, it's only I think a total of 16 chapters ish. I meant the rest of the book. The book is not
Our
little.
little
The
book.
book is this is this is the third biggest or second
Our
biggest book in the
beefy
series.
fuck
It's
of a
very
book
close.
over here.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why we will be taking a break after. We'll talk to you about that very soon, but you'll see like a little 6-week window. We're not stopping recording or talking about things. We're going to take a 6-week break from Demon in White after we wrap up Demon in White on the whole. A little bit of Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King, some interviews with a variety of authors. Very excited to talk and cover those.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. You can find us on social media at Words Whiskey Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, feel free to shoot us an email at wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com. You can also find us anywhere you get your podcasts. I assume you have. You're listening to us, but we're on all the ones. Please watch us on YouTube also and subscribe.
Big
It
deal.
would be really
Yeah.
cool if you subscribed. Even if you just listen on YouTube, but you hit that subscribe button, it would help us out a lot.
It's crazy. So not the last episode before this one, but the one before that, we tripled our numbers on that episode. We broke 100 on that one on YouTube, which is incredible considering across all platforms on an average episode we get about 1,200 listeners. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
more of you that we focus on YouTube, the better we are in the long run from a production standpoint and otherwise. It helps fuel everything. We, if we could, would rely on Google's money to pay for everything, and we wouldn't even need your money if you'd give us that. So, really appreciate you, but you can support us directly, and we appreciate those that do very much so. Patreon.com/words and whiskey. It's a great community. They're all great stuff. They're all great people. It's a fun time. Also, I am so excited. I've finally begun burning through the core and the end of Musashi. Oh, God, Josh.
I'm so
Gotta,
excited.
as we mentioned before, it's so good. But a lot of good books coming up in the
Yeah,
near
yeah.
future, and
I
that
need to finish
being one
Angie
of them.
and Three Hitmen, but I'm super
Three.
close on both of
Yep.
those. And then, yeah, as
Yep.
we end this book, I'm going to dive into Musashi, and I'll be doing back and forth with that and Eyes of the Dragon, I think. So,
Yeah, should be very fun. As Josh mentioned, support us where you can. Leave us a review wherever you'd like. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way for us. With that, dear listener, there are endings, and this is one.
cool.
Rat,
Dope.
dope.